I was reborn just as the transplant procedure concluded. The doctors said this attempt had high chances of success. In my past life, my sister swapped my eggs, making me bear her child with my husband. That child, exploiting their status as a hard-won IVF baby, willfully forced me to divorce my husband. He even went so far as to declare his own sister his godmother, a perfect portrayal of an unfilial son. I stumbled out of the operating room and saw my sister with a smug, satisfied expression on her face. Hey sis, they say babies bring more babies. Come here, sweetheart, give your auntie's belly a little rub and share some baby luck with her. I shoved the mother and daughter aside and strode toward the doctor's office. If I could do it over, I'd personally terminate this IVF abomination. The lead physician was stunned speechless, demanding an abortion right after embryo transfer. This is the child you conceived after 10 IVF attempts. You'd really give it up. Even she didn't believe her own words as she pleaded, Feng Wanning, all your indicators are perfect this time, especially those premium quality follicles. That's because the person who came for egg retrieval last time wasn't me at all. No way, she blurted out. I gave a self-deprecating laugh and looked at her. Aunt Xia, you know my condition. In all these years, when have you ever seen me produce 18 eggs at once, let alone 12 viable ones? Whether it's quantity or pass rate, the same person couldn't possibly show such drastic fluctuations. Director Xia is my mother's best friend, so I decided to come clean with everything. She paused, adjusting her reading glasses. Jingji accompanied you on egg retrieval day. Besides, do you really think I'd mistake you for someone else? She's my half-sister, I said calmly. Her eyes and brows resemble mine the most, and she's skilled with makeup. Think about it, didn't she wear a mask that day? Claiming she had a cough, Aunt Xia gasped in shock, then quickly shook her head. That can't be right, Ning Ning. If that were true, with your temper, would you really stay quiet and obediently go through with the transplant today? Seems to me you've been thoroughly spoiled by Jingji. She shook her head at me with an exasperated smile, teasing, go home and have Jingji give you some counseling. As a distinguished psychology PhD and industry leader, he couldn't possibly let his own wife develop psychological issues. At the mention of my husband Pei Jingji, her lips curled into a proud smile. A flash of resentment crossed my eyes as the emotions I'd suppressed since rebirth finally shattered at this moment. Only when my nails dug into my palms did I speak. On egg retrieval day, Pei Jingji hypnotized me into believing I'd been to the hospital. I only just remembered. Good heavens, this is no joking matter. Aunt Xia gasped in horror. The bombshell revelations came one after another, completely overwhelming the seasoned 60-year-old physician. There are 10 frozen embryos in the hospital storage that can undergo paternity testing with me, I declared with conviction. Eggs of vastly different quality, the evasive me during the retrieval procedure, and a psychiatrist capable of performing flawless hypnosis. One coincidence might mean nothing, but what about a string of them? Ridiculous, absurd. Aunt Xia finally slammed her hand on the table in anger. Thank goodness you caught this early, otherwise, it would have been a terrible mistake. Bitterness flooded my entire heart. Life's never that simple. With Pei Jingji's level of hypnosis, he could have fooled me for a lifetime. Had I not been bedridden by my ungrateful son in a past life, my sister Sui Feng wouldn't have wanted me to die so easily. She came forward to confess it all. I'd have to be reborn 100 times before I'd believe that someone I loved and shared my bed with could have the heart to treat me like this. He's staking his entire career and reputation on this. Is Sue Yifeng really worth it? She's already married with kids. Wanting, the embryo transfer is done now. There's no going back. We'll know if it takes in 7 days at the earliest. Aunt Xia sighed. If it's really happening, I just hope this child knows better than to come. Too, in my past life, the joy of successful IVF was fleeting as morning dew. I suffered massive hemorrhage during childbirth, and by the time I left the hospital, my son only bonded with Sui Feng, watching them act like a perfect family. I snapped and screamed at Sui Feng to take her daughter and get out. Elder sister, the child clings to me naturally. After all those thousands of injections you endured to bring him into this world, how could you treat him this way? She clung to her son desperately, their heart-wrenching sobs making me seem all the more cruel. That hard-won sentence truly pierced my heart. Pei Jingji comforted me, saying it'll get easier when the child grows older, but it never did. The child had barely grown sensible when he insisted on recognizing Sui Feng as his godmother. I brought up the matter of Sui Feng leaving again. She no longer cried, but held her head high with defiant confidence. Sister, don't you remember how hard it was to have Pan Pan? Do you want him to grow up hating you? Yet in the end, my son came to resent me. In his later years, He openly demanded I divorce Pei Jingji so he could make his godmother the legitimate wife. Dad never liked you to begin with, if it weren't for me, he would have divorced you ages ago. What disgusts me most is how you debase yourself. Can't you survive without clinging to Dad? He believed Sui Feng's claim that I only gave birth to him as a means to cling to Pei Jingji for the first time. I wished I'd never given birth to him. Without this ungrateful son, this dying marriage wouldn't be dragging on. He drove me to the hospital vomiting blood. Yet Sui Feng won't even let me die in peace. How pitiful, sister, after all the hardships to have a son, he still doesn't bond with you. Her smile turned venomous. Of course not. The embryo you had implanted was actually mine and your brother-in-law's. Isn't it hilarious? The child that came from your own womb isn't even yours. Ha ha ha. She leaned in, whispering word by word into my ear. Don't believe me, sis, think carefully. Did you really go to the hospital for egg retrieval that day? My eyes widened in disbelief as I stared at her. A string in my mind snapped with a pop, and long-buried memories exploded in an instant. Feng Wanning, do you believe me? As I was about to leave, the man suddenly embraced me from behind. My hand paused on the bag strap as I turned with a wry smile. What? Are you scared? Afraid I'll leave you if you fail again? The man pressed his lips together. Do you trust me? My heart melted instantly as I gently caressed his handsome face. I believe you, then look into my eyes, he said, gazing at me intently. You entered the egg retrieval room alone, changed into a hospital gown and slippers. The operating room was freezing, and you shivered slightly from the cold. The doctor had you lie on the surgical table with your legs spread. Today's physician made sure you didn't see that long needle. Knowing you were Aunt Xia's relative, she handled you gently. The egg retrieval was painless and went smoothly. She even remarked that your follicles looked promising. I watched as Pei Jingji slowly closed his eyes, letting him gently carry me to the bed. Sui Feng had already slipped away unnoticed. Tears traced the contours of my skin before disappearing into my hairline. No wonder I've never been truly awake my entire life. Those vivid scenes were exactly what I'd vented about to Pei Jingji, word for word. Back then, he held me while shedding tears, saying he'd failed me, yet in the end, he twisted my pain into some fabricated fantasy. How could he? How dare I? I can't accept this. I just can't. My hand grasped at empty air one last time, catching nothing. Children, marriage, husband, all were ugly soap bubbles. I closed my eyes in regret. Fortunately, I'd been reborn. The timing of the return wasn't exactly ideal, but I'm not disappointed either. After all, in 7 days I could grant Pei Jingji and Sui Feng an equally illusory dream. 3. I didn't wait for Pei Jingji and returned home alone after the transplant. An hour later, he finally came home panting, clutching a brightly colored kite in his hand. He had barely taken his seat when Sui Feng came in right behind him with their little girl. Daddy, wait for me. You promised to play with me. Why are you running off so fast? Sweetheart, slow down. No no no, I want Daddy to play with me right now. Nan Nan came running into the room cheerfully. Daddy, Daddy. The dreary room instantly came alive with energy. Pei Jingji ignored me completely, scooping her up high as the little girl burst into bell-like laughter. Sui Feng stood by, beaming with joy. Mommy, the new outfit is so pretty. I want to take pictures. Nan Nan suddenly exclaimed. It was only then I noticed all 3 of them were wearing matching family outfits. How utterly brazen, I said coolly. Your brother-in-law is in prison, not dead, and Nan Nan can call you godfather or uncle, but Daddy would be inappropriate. Sui Feng turned deathly pale, shrinking back like a frightened quail. Nan Nan, however, defiantly wrapped her arms around Pei Jingji's neck, shouting Daddy. Repeatedly, Sui Feng panicked. Please don't be angry, sis. Nan Nan knows you're about to have a baby, and she's afraid her brother-in-law won't like her anymore, so I'm just comforting her. Pei Jingji sighed without a word, patting Nan Nan's head in silent acquiescence. I suppose I'm being too dull, arguing with a child, of all things. Since you don't seem to welcome us, I'll take Nan Nan home now. Sui Feng's sallow face tensed as her hand drifted uneasily to her slightly rounded belly. Pei Jingji saw the situation and took the coat himself. Let's go. I'll walk you out. Nan Nan gave me a smug smile, pulling down her lower eyelid. Feng Wanning is a wicked woman, nothing but a barren old hen. Cluck cluck clucking away. The sound of 3 pairs of footsteps faded into the hallway. Pei Jingji didn't come back until I turned off the lights and went to bed. He hesitated but finally spoke up. Ning Ning, you know if Feng has trauma from domestic abuse, why bring up that man today? And there's Nan Nan, she's our goddaughter, and you're practically her aunt. Just be patient with her, and she'll warm up to you. I kept my eyes closed and didn't respond. Pei Jingji also knew when to stop and didn't bring up Sui Feng again. He gently touched my belly, his voice firm. This time, I believe it will definitely work. Failure this time means there won't be a next time. I smiled. After the 5th failed IVF attempt, Pei Jingji suggested we go child-free, but I insisted on divorce. I don't want to gamble on human nature. Everyone around us also urged us to let each other go. Pei Jingji refused. With red-rimmed eyes, he pleaded, Feng Wanning, I can't accept us parting ways just because of a child. Of course, I wasn't willing to accept that either. I ran my fingers over the countless needle marks beneath my sleeve and said, fine, if the number of failures matches the years we've known each other, we'll call it quits. I've known Pei Jingji for 10 years. Today marks our 10th attempt at IVF. Pei Jingji paused briefly. Don't jinx it, heaven will grant our wish, right, after all your meticulous efforts. A flicker of guilty panic flashed through his eyes. Let's not talk about this anymore, you should get some rest. He squeezed my hand reassuringly. I've already rented a place for Yifeng. She won't be coming around often, so don't worry, for in my past life, during those 7 days of waiting for the results, I walked on eggshells, wishing I could just stay in bed for everything. Even basic needs. Who cares now? After Pei Jing left for work, I headed to the gym. On the 3rd day, I accompanied Aunt Xia to the hospital for blood work to prepare for a paternity test with the frozen embryo. After that, I started asking friends for recommendations on reliable lawyers to prepare for divorce. My schedule was so packed that I completely forgot I was in the middle of a transplant period. On the 5th day, my best friend and I bumped into Pei Jingji and her daughter Sui Feng at a hot pot joint. Sui Feng still seemed rather unwell. Frequently pressing a hand to her stomach, Pei Jingji gently served her food with a considerate gesture. From the side. To an outsider, they just seem like any ordinary, happy family of 3. Looks like Sui Feng's really suffering from IVF side effects this time, I remarked, turning my attention back to boiling my tripe slice. She went through IVF too, my best friend asked in surprise, clinking glasses with her. I chuckled. How else do you think she retrieved 18 eggs for me? The most physically taxing part of IVF is ovarian stimulation. She followed every single step of the process, except for the transplant. It's been nearly half a month since the egg retrieval, and her ascites hasn't fully resolved. Clearly, the cost has been significant compared to me, Pei Jingji, who's just resting at home during the pregnancy. I naturally feel more sympathy now for Sui Feng, the egg donor. On the 7th day, Aunt Xia called me bright and early. Ning, hurry up and take the test, it's about time. I stared blankly at the test strip in my hand. What a persistent ghost. Come to think of it, that child from my past life tormented me for a lifetime. How could he possibly let me go so easily? What a shame. Aunt Xia sighed and suddenly asked if I'd ever considered keeping the child. For one, having your own child later would be difficult, and for another, this child is innocent after all. If it bothers you, just move abroad after the divorce, put an ocean between you and them. I refused without even thinking about it. If I wanted kids, wouldn't I just adopt? Why bother raising someone else's problem child? 5. The moment Aunt Xia hung up, Pei Jingji barged into the bathroom. He stood like a long-suppressed volcano, his eyes blazing at me with terrifying intensity. I stared at him impassively until his lips began to quiver and his face visibly paled. All right, take a look, I chuckled, slowly pulling out 2 pregnancy test strips from behind my back. Fan Wanning, we did it, he choked out. He gazed at me for a long moment before pulling me into a tight embrace. We'll never be apart again, this is wonderful, he kept murmuring, fidgeting like an overwhelmed child. Still uneasy, he took me to the hospital for a blood test. Afterward, holding the positive pregnancy test result, he let out a long, relieved breath. He drove me back to his parents' house to share the good news. On the way home, he was already discussing baby names and future college majors for our child. Rubbing my belly with a smile, I said, that's too far ahead, I'd rather redecorate the spare room as a nursery. Absolutely, we should also start looking for a prenatal nutritionist and postpartum nanny in advance. Pei Jingji stopped working overtime completely, coming home punctually every day to cook and take walks with me. Even when he had few clients, he'd return at noon to prepare meals, watching me finish eating before heading back to the clinic. Aunt Xia's text message. Ning, please call me back when you're free. Watching Pei Jingji cutting fruit beside me, I felt a twinge of irritation. The door was suddenly pounded with loud knocks, accompanied by faint sobbing sounds. Daddy, wah. Pei Jingji stood up and soon returned, leading a tear-streaked, sniffling little girl by the hand. He looked slightly embarrassed. Nan Nan said Yifeng is sick and didn't even take her to kindergarten today. Is mommy dead? She won't answer when I talk to her. Her eyes are closed. Daddy. I'm so scared. Pei Jingji's expression turned grave. Mom's condition is this serious. Why didn't you call me instead of coming here alone? It's dangerous. Wiping her tears, Nan Nan pointed at me resentfully. I wanted to call, but mommy said not to bother auntie. Auntie doesn't like us. If we make her unhappy, she won't let dad come to see us anymore. She turned to Pei Jingji with that same cautious, ingratiating look. Daddy, mommy said auntie has a baby in her tummy. Does that mean I'll be left out again? Pei Jingji shook his head and scooped up Nan Nan in one swift motion. I'd never abandon you. Right now, let's go help mom first. The little girl's tears turned to laughter as she happily threw her arms around his neck, then shot me a defiant look over her shoulder as they left. After Pei Jingji left, I returned Aunt Xia's call. Ningning, schedule an ultrasound at the hospital in the next couple days. After reviewing the report, I'll finalize the surgery timing. Got it, I replied. Of course we'll proceed. After the blood test results, we'll have another piece to weave into this beautiful dream. After hanging up, the renovation foreman called to ask when we could start the project. Let's begin today. I'll be waiting at home. After the decorators arrived, I retreated to my study and started building with blocks. On the desk stood a dreamy castle, its first 2 stories already completed. I spent the entire afternoon meticulously assembling the 3rd floor, decorating the exterior walls, and adding a swing set. I admired my creation with satisfaction. The project was past the halfway mark and would soon be topped out. 1st floor, 20% success rate for embryo transfer, 20% early pregnancy, 10% nursery prep. Tomorrow's ultrasound should let us see the embryonic bud and hear the fetal heartbeat. 6. The ailing Su Yifeng was brought back home by Pei Jingji again. Her original room when she first came to me is under renovation, so Pei Jingji arranged for her to stay in the attic. Ningning, Yifeng's divorce hearing is coming up. The grandparents tracked them down to their rental and beat up both mother and child. That place isn't safe anymore. Pei Jingji looked uncomfortable, choosing his words carefully. The lawyer says the verdict will come in 2 weeks at most. They'll have no grounds to cause trouble after that. I frowned at the 2 large suitcases in the living room. Let's go upstairs and check. The attic is packed with all the things I've collected over the years. I've been clearing it out lately, and most of the stuff has already been moved by Lalamove to my pre-marriage apartment. Pei Jingji glanced at the empty cabinet, now holding only a few white mothballs, and paused mid-motion as he was about to place his luggage inside. Ningning, where's your stuff? I pulled up a stool by Su Yifeng's bedside and sat down, answering quietly, cleared it all out to make room for the baby's things. Those old items were just gathering dust for years anyway. Pei Jingji fell silent after some contemplation, his gaze lingering on the nursery furniture in the living room. Su Yifeng was indeed running a fever, her brows furrowed as if trapped in a nightmare. Su Yifeng, I called out. The woman in the bed slowly opened her eyes, locked gazes with me, and suddenly shrieked. Ah, why aren't you dead yet, you old bastard? Don't even think about. Seeing Pei Jingji beside me, she suddenly stopped speaking, her pupils trembling violently in shock, then quickly apologized to me, saying he'd been feverish and was talking nonsense. I frowned. Could Su Yifeng have been reborn too in her past life? After Pei Jingji brought her back, she was so terrified I'd kick her out that she knelt before me. Where would she have found the nerve to call me a wretched old crone? Pei Jingji's expression darkened when he saw my indifference. Yifeng, he said coldly, once the lawsuit is over, you and Nan Nan will move out. Su Yifeng grew anxious and quickly grabbed his hand. Jingji, didn't we agree that I'd take care of sister? I'm her biological sister, obviously the best choice. Pei Jingji was mortified. He quickly shook off her hand and snapped, what nonsense are you shouting? And keep your hands to yourself, speak properly. The disdain in his eyes wasn't feigned, and Su Yifeng silently stepped back, hiding the disappointment in her eyes having confirmed my suspicions. I didn't bother watching their act anymore and went downstairs to rest. The next day, Pei Jingji accompanied me for the ultrasound, while Su Yifeng insisted on joining despite her frail health. When we got the results, Pei Jingji lifted me up in excitement, while Su Yifeng quietly exhaled in relief, as if a long-anticipated plan had finally come to fruition. But compared to the barely concealed glee and triumph from our past life, the emotions now felt noticeably subdued. Only I knew the reason behind it. I walked into Aunt Xia's office with the ultrasound report in hand. She looked at me with pity in her eyes and told me something else. Ningning, those embryos truly have nothing to do with you. I nodded noncommittally. It was exactly what I'd expected all along. She sighed and stopped pressing the issue, picking up the ultrasound report to calculate. Let's schedule the procedure in 2 weeks. That would be ideal timing. After some thought, I asked, could we make it 20 days later? The risks increase with each day we wait. 20 days is the absolute limit. We can't delay any further. She looked both surprised and irritated. What's the matter? Having second thoughts, I smiled. No worries. Let it grow a few more days so you'll get a clearer view during surgery. The block castle is 70% complete. Just one more layer to go. 7. After seeing the ultrasound results, Pei Jingji went to work with complete peace of mind. For one thing, with a child in the picture, I wouldn't bring up divorce again. For another, he knew I'd cherish this IVF baby even more than he would, so he entrusted Sui Feng with my care. I pretended to resist, but he coaxed me, saying no outsider could ever be as reliable as one's own sister. Of course he felt at ease. After all, Sui Feng was her biological mother. No one could put his mind at rest like Sui Feng could, so Sui Feng and her daughter settled in just like that. When my mom abroad got wind of the news, she video called to give Pei Jingji a stern talking to. Jingji, why do you bring just anyone home? Sui Feng's alcoholic father, abusive husband, and that whole troublesome in-law family, none of them are people you should get involved with. My mother defended me indignantly. What, adopting a goddaughter isn't enough for you? Now you want to have your cake and eat it too? Mom, that's not what I meant, Pei Jingji quickly replied. Nan, with tears in her eyes and a trembling voice, called out, Grandma, please don't scold Dad. Okay, my mom's already suffered enough. You're so kind to Auntie. Why can't you have some pity for us? Grandma, who's your grandmother? Mom. I'll handle it. Fearing Nan might feel slighted, Pei Jingji abruptly hung up. My gaze turned icy. Over the years, I've undergone 10 rounds of IVF for Pei Jingji, and my body has been completely worn out. My mom was just worried about me, so she came out a bit strong, yet Pei Jingji was so preoccupied with pitying the mother and daughter that he spared her not a shred of dignity. I slammed my chopsticks down on the table with a thud. Sui Feng, haven't you told Nan about our relationship? My parents divorced when I was 1. My alcoholic father refused to pay child support. My mother cut ties with him on my behalf. Since he abandoned his parental duties, I won't be responsible for his elderly care. Sui Feng was born from his later marriage. Nan calls her grandma. Sui Feng lifted her head, hugging Nan while deliberately avoiding my question. Instead, she said, Sis, why take it out on a child? She's just upset seeing her dad being scolded. The moment she finished speaking, my eyes instinctively darted toward Pei Jingji. He pressed his lips together in silence. Auntie is being rather unreasonable. Brother-in-law only kept me around for your sake. I don't see what Auntie has to complain about. Most men wouldn't go through 10 rounds of IVF with their wives. You're truly blessed. Sis, let me be blunt, this baby in your belly will be your last, but that may not be the case for brother-in-law. After her rebirth, Sui Feng no longer endured in silence like her past life. She struck with calculated precision. Between the lines, it wasn't just a provocation aimed at me, it was also a subtle nudge for Pei Jingji. I'm already in his grasp, and I can never fly out of his palm again. I'm just a plain-spoken country woman with little schooling. Please don't take offense, sister. After all, I'm not like you, married to a big city professor. I looked at Pei Jingji with a wry smile. Is this really the person you think is most suitable to take care of me, Pei? Jingji opened his mouth but ended up sighing. Ning, Yifeng means no harm, she just wants what's best for us. Behind closed doors, he put on soft music and spoke to me in soothing tones. I know what she said today upset you, but think about it the other way. Yifeng's upbringing was different from yours. The world treated her unfairly, so she had to be tough in order to survive and take care of her daughter. We're living a happy life, so let's be generous and considerate of her struggles. It's also building good fortune for our children, right? I gazed at him quietly. So you actually agree with what she said? There's no way I can leave you now, right? Kay, nonsense. How could I possibly think that? It's always been me worrying you'd leave. Though he'd mastered the art of masking his true feelings, I still caught that fleeting look of guilt when I saw through him. But it didn't matter. With a smile, I tugged his collar toward me. Sui Feng's just jealous. Of course I'd never leave you. He's our only child now, so you better treat him extra special. Come with me to the baby store tomorrow. Pei Jingji was delighted that I'd come to my senses and immediately replied, let's buy it. Our child deserves the best. Asleep. Pei Jingji's brow relaxed. a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. I gently traced his brows and whispered, Pei Jingji, dream deeper of your lavish fantasy, beautiful wives, doting concubines, a brood of children, and all the pleasures you crave, all your greed shall be granted. 8. Sui Feng was desperately eager to usurp what wasn't hers. Bit by bit, my belongings vanished from this home as she gradually replaced them with her own. The slippers by the door, the toothbrushes in the bathroom, the cups, and the towels, all were replaced with matching family sets for the trio. Thanks to Sui Feng's meddling touch, even their bowls, chopsticks, teacups, and pajamas are gradually being standardized in style and color. In her previous life, Sui Feng didn't start arranging things so openly until Pan was 3 years old. Pei Jingji might have sensed that something was different at home, but seeing me haul baby supplies home every day, they didn't think much of it. Sui Feng even used protecting the child as an excuse to make us sleep separately. Every night after that, Nian Nian would cling to Pei Jingji, giving her an excuse to stay late. The two people sharing this secret grew increasingly close under Sui Feng's subtle orchestration. In the final 5 days, he busied himself with helping Sui Feng navigate her divorce proceedings. Little did they know, our divorce paperwork was nearly ready to file. I circled the numbers on the calendar one by one. The day had finally come for Aunt Xia's scheduled abortion. That morning, the moment Pei Jingji stepped out right in front of Sui Feng, I handed over the remaining old belongings from my attic to the moving company. Then I began sorting through my current possessions. 3 enormous suitcases took up the entire living room. Sui Feng froze for a moment before casually crossing her legs on the sofa, watching me cram belongings into my suitcase with the poised air of a lady of the house. She thought I was upset with her. What's the fuss this time, sis? If you've got any complaints about me, just say it, or go tell Jingji. Don't pull that running away from home nonsense. Don't act like pregnancy makes you some kind of royalty. I stayed silent, having packed everything in the living room and bedroom. Only toiletries remained. Her eyes darted around impatiently as she snapped, I know you can't stand me. I'll leave as soon as the baby's born. Won't clutter up your sight anymore. Happy now, until my best friend showed up with someone and took away my suitcase. She couldn't stay seated any longer. Jumping up, she grabbed my hand. Feng Wanning, can't you just behave yourself while pregnant? If anything happens to the child, I'm afraid you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I looked at the house, now utterly devoid of any trace of myself, and felt a sudden release. Finally, I was free. Sui Feng finally panicked, her heart racing with fear, and fumbled to call Pei Jingji. 9. I don't want this child anymore. I uttered a sentence that sent chills down her spine. Her eyes widened in horror as she stared at me. Sis, how could you even think something so terrible? This is the child you fought so hard for, after 10 rounds of IVF. Have you lost your mind? I smiled meaningfully. What's the point of giving birth? He didn't even help you become Mrs. Ching in our past life. You've also been reborn. Sui Feng's eyes widened in horror as she staggered backward like she'd seen a ghost. Impossible. This can't be. I sighed while touching my belly. Indeed, who would have thought the child from my womb wouldn't truly be mine? The last glimmer of hope in Sui Feng's eyes turned to ashes with those words. Finished, she murmured softly, her eyes rolling back. He slumped forward, utterly drained, frantically trying to come up with a solution. I bet she's kicking herself now for blurting out the truth to me. Why couldn't she just keep her big mouth shut? Out of sheer desperation, she glared at me and unleashed a torrent of abuse. Feng Wanning, you stupid woman, you're the most pathetic, pitiful creature alive. A barren hen like you wouldn't even fetch a penny in our village. Worthless trash. Ha ha ha. What you don't know is that after you die, every cent of the Feng family fortune will belong to my son. So what if you have a good mom? I'll beat you with a terrible hand. After all, you can't even have kids. You deserve to bear and raise my son. Oh, so did you marry Pei Jingji after I died? I asked. So what if we're not married? He'll always be the father of my son. I've scheduled an abortion for today. I blurted out, breaking the silence. How dare you? This is my son. You have no right to abort him. She clutched at me, shrieking hoarsely, her chest heaving like a drowning person thrashing desperately for air. I watched her frenzy coolly. Sui Feng, he's in my womb. You don't get a say. She glared at me with bitter defiance before her expression collapsed into ashen defeat. As long as you're married, life is so long. What's there to fear about not having his child? Since when are you so kind? She asked numbly, setting her phone down and abandoning her attempt to call Pei Jingji. A son who failed to secure her position, and the rightful heir to come. She certainly knows how to choose. Of course, there are conditions, I said the moment I learned Sui Feng had also been reborn. I changed my plans. After all, the Sui Feng before me is the woman who's already tormented me for a lifetime. The original punishment simply wouldn't suffice anymore. 10. With one last glance at the home I'd lived in for 10 years, I turned away without a shred of nostalgia. Feng Wanning, if you dare refuse this divorce, I swear you'll regret it, Sui Feng screamed behind me, yet her feet remained planted as if this were her hill to die on. I waved my hand dismissively and kept walking. Aunt Xia was already waiting for me at the hospital. As I lay on the operating table, I watched the anesthesia flow into my veins. Just before losing consciousness, I murmured, "Keep me whole." I'd barely come to from the anesthesia when Pei Jingji called. He must have heard about my departure from Sui Feng. Feng Wanning, didn't we already agree on this? His voice carried irritation and a hint of impatience as he spoke. Why are you pulling this runaway act again? Yifeng's divorce decree came through today. She's now homeless. You drove them out. What if something happens to them on the other end of the line? Pei Jingji sounded breathless, as if running. The roar of traffic in the background made it clear he wasn't at the clinic or home. Are you home yet? I asked. He grew even more impatient. Feng Wanning, I made these arrangements for the children's sake. Stop making a scene and come back. I need to go find them first. Oh, so she didn't go back after all. I burst out laughing. Turns out when you're utterly exasperated, you really can't help but laugh. Pei Jingji, I don't believe you're truly blind to Sui Feng's feelings for you. Even Nan Nan wants you to be her proper father. All this time, you knew exactly how much they despised me, yet you couldn't care less. You can't resist Nan Nan calling you daddy at every turn, nor Sui Feng's fawning admiration. Nonsense, she's your sister, Nan Nan's your niece. I'm only helping them for your sake. Pei Jingji snapped with intimidating severity, oblivious to how utterly pathetic and ridiculous he looked. So what? Your uncle becomes your father, your brother-in-law becomes your lover, and now you're using me as your cover-up. Feng Wanning, that's going too far. Everything I've done is for our future. My conscience is clear. I remained silent. He thought he'd convinced me, lowering his voice coaxingly. He said, Ning Ning, I've never had ulterior motives toward you, otherwise we wouldn't have come this far. It's just that regarding Yifeng and the little one, now that I'm involved, I don't want to leave things half done. Think carefully about how you'll interact with them when you return. He was still putting on a righteous front, unwilling to admit his sordid intentions. What if I insist you choose between me, Sui Feng, and the child? Feng Wanning, you're being completely unreasonable. I'm not. I'm at the hospital right now. Then I added 2 more words, the gynecology department. Pei Jingji's ragged breathing hitched. After a long pause, he said slowly, are you trying to force my hand, using the child to pressure me? He said, incredulous. I didn't speak, but silence was my answer. We were locked in a tense silence over the phone for several seconds, neither willing to budge. Finally, he let out a scoff and hung up first. Suit yourself, just don't come crying to me later. Aunt Xiao listened to the whole conversation with confusion. He's gone to such lengths for this child. Is he really just letting you hit him without intervening? I shook my head. Of course not. He's gambling that I'd be more reluctant than him. Aunt Xia, who is he? A PhD in psychology. No one understands mind games better than he does. I took out the last building block from my bag, tossing it up and down in my hand. With a laugh, she said, if I succeed in threatening him with the child this time, he'll fear I'll push my advantage and keep pressing him step by step. So, he gambled, after 10 rounds of IVF to have this child. I won't give up on them. He couldn't bear to part with his beautiful wives and concubines, indulging in the luxury of having them all by his side. With one last glance at the building blocks, I tossed them into the trash can. Perfect shot. The final 10% of the masterpiece was capped off by Pei Jingji himself, laying the last brick. Aunt Xia shook her head. If I were you, I wouldn't bother being patient with him. I'd just confront him about the egg-switching hypnosis and slap him silly, still giving him face, using the child to manipulate you. Patience, of course I have patience. You have to eat your meal 1 bite at a time and take each step 1 at a time. If you use up all your tricks at once, it'll be no fun at all. I gave up my entire life. What right does he have to die so easily? 11. I hired a nanny and returned to my apartment for postpartum confinement. Pei Jingji hasn't contacted me since hanging up on me at the hospital that day. Figures, after all, he never believed I'd actually go through with terminating the pregnancy since I dared to threaten him. He decided to teach me a lesson by giving me the cold shoulder. Might as well let me figure out how to get along with that mother-daughter pair when I return. I didn't bother with them for the time being. Instead, I hired a nanny to take care of me during my postpartum recovery. This was a rare opportunity to properly recuperate. A month later, I called a delivery person to come over and pick up a document and a glass jar. Hours later, Pei Jingji never called. Instead, a delivery guy reached out to say no one answered the door. The neighbor across the hall said they hadn't seen anyone inside for a month. I roughly understand what's going on. I had the delivery guy wait at the door while I called Pei Jingji. Turns out Sui Feng was afraid Pei Jingji would return to find all my belongings gone and worried we'd make a scene. She deliberately claimed I wasn't home, too embarrassed to go back herself. This only made me seem even more willful and immature. So in a fit of anger, Pei Jing took both of us abroad for a vacation. The three of them had just gotten off the plane. Pei Jingji thought he was giving me an out. We're on our way, so we stopped by to pick you up, and then we'll head home together. No need, I've sent you something. Your delivery guy is waiting at the door. Let's talk if anything comes up. 12. Pei Jingji never called. Again, the things I sent over seemed to vanish without a trace, leaving no ripple behind. Of course not. What I sent over was a purplish lump of flesh preserved in formaldehyde. Aunt Xia's expertise would surely let him recognize what it was. He must have wanted to kill me at that moment, but what right did he have? The divorce papers included a paternity test report between me and the frozen embryo. Guilty conscience made him too scared to act. Days later, he signed the divorce papers, agreeing to leave with nothing. We scheduled an appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize our divorce. When we met again days later, the once refined PhD had lost all vitality, disheveled hair and unshaven stubble replacing his former scholarly demeanor. His gaze lingered on my abdomen for a few seconds before slowly rising to meet my face. His bloodshot eyes pleaded, "Ning, must it come to this?" I stared at him coldly. His voice cracked slightly. I can explain." I cut him off. "Pei Jingji, if I could find proof that you hypnotized me, do you really think a divorce would be the end of it?" His pupils contracted as he lowered his gaze, falling silent. When I turned to leave with the divorce papers, I spotted Sui Feng and Nan Nan hiding around the street corner. The two looked disheveled and skittish, yet maintained a cautious distance as they trailed behind Pei Jingji. I remembered what my neighbor told me the other day. She said shortly after the delivery guy dropped off the package, violent crashing sounds erupted from inside. My usually refined and educated PhD husband went berserk for once, throwing a woman and her child out. Didn't your husband adore his goddaughter? Spoiled that girl rotten, no manners at all, always giving people the stink eye like she's something special. She was crying her heart out till her voice went hoarse, yet he still wouldn't open the door. And that sister of yours? She collapsed right at the doorstep, but that woman didn't even bat an eye. We were terrified. I'd actually love to see Sui Feng suffer. Might as well send her to jail while we're at it. But the lawyer said that currently, the law mostly deals with egg donors or sellers through criticism and education, or brief detention with a fine. If this blows up, Sui Feng, a divorced country woman with a kid, could easily turn around and accuse me. Good luck explaining that away. After all, I have no proof of being hypnotized, but my 9 failed IVF attempts are all documented in hospital records. I might end up getting stuck with her instead, and we'd both lose. Definitely not worth it. Aunt Xia also advised me, saying that evil people will get their due. Since I've cut my losses in time, I should just live my life well from now on and stop getting entangled with bad people. At the traffic light at the intersection, Sui Feng and her daughter finally caught up with Pei Jingji's car. The mother and daughter blocked the crosswalk, refusing to let him pass. The moment Pei Jingji stepped out, Sui Feng grabbed him, while her little girl immediately clung to his leg, wailing. In the end, under the judgmental stares of passers-by, Pei Jingji had no choice but to let them board. I averted my gaze and stopped paying attention. I knew Sui Feng wouldn't let herself end up empty-handed after all this trouble. 13. The day I went abroad to reunite with my mother, a mutual friend of mine and Pei Jingji told me Pei Jingji and Sui Feng got married. Who knows what tricks that woman used to make Jingji marry her. And with such a lavish banquet of over a dozen tables, no less, I really wouldn't go if it weren't for our long friendship. This is embarrassing. Pei Jingji was a man who cared deeply about appearances. Though he'd taken Sui Feng into his home, he couldn't bear the thought of gossip. So whether among friends or colleagues, everyone knew Sui Feng was his sister-in-law. When Aunt Xia heard about this, she made a special call to question me. I don't believe for a second that Pei Jingji actually fancies your sister. Besides, his snobbish ex-in-laws would never approve of their marriage. That woman may be clever in her own way, but she's no match for Pei Jingji. Ningning, what on earth have you done? I did give Su Yifeng some pointers otherwise, with her methods, how could she have made the proud Pei Jingji bow down? After all, in her previous life, despite holding a strong hand, she still failed to become Mrs. Chung. Since Pei Jingji refuses to marry me, I'll make damn sure he does. Nothing pleases me more than making his life difficult. So before the surgery that day, I taught Su Yifeng how to manipulate Pei Jingji. All she had to do was claim she had recordings of their conspiracy to swap eggs and use hypnosis. If Pei Jingji refuses to marry her, she'll report him to the Psychotherapist Association or go straight to the police. Pei Jingji would never let his hard-earned reputation and status crumble overnight. Remember, don't give Pei Jingji any chance to be alone with you before achieving your goal, otherwise, whether she actually has evidence and where it's hidden would become an open book to Pei Jingji. How long can such a guarded and resentful marriage possibly last? A year later, I'd fully settled abroad and even found time to retake a course in my favorite subject. I'd long since shaken off the shadows of my past life. One day, Aunt Xia called me again. Your sister Su Yifeng suddenly showed up at my place and knelt down before me. Can you believe she actually asked me to help her buy the remaining 10 embryos you have stored at our hospital? Aunt Xia was utterly puzzled. They've been married for a year now, and Su Yifeng's health is fine. There's no reason she shouldn't be able to have a child. Even if you genuinely can't conceive naturally, there are legitimate IVF procedures available. She grew angrier as she spoke. How absurd. Does she think I own the hospital? That embryos can just be purchased like groceries? What kind of twisted view is that toward children? I lost my temper and called Pei Jingji to give him an earful. What does Su Yifeng, some provincial woman, know? She's clearly being manipulated by him, and that shameless man actually had the nerve to ask me for your overseas contact details. The little old lady couldn't stop talking. She'd just encountered some truly outrageous people and situations. After venting her complaints, she kept shaking her head and sighing. I think Su Yifeng's not right in the head. She's as thin as a stick, and those dark circles under her eyes look like she hasn't slept in years. Sigh, what is Pei Jingji even doing? He hurt you so badly back then, and now that he's got you as his wife, with a family and a warm home, he's still treating you like this. I gave a faint smile. Su Yifeng probably fears being hypnotized by Pei Jingji, just like I was. Little did she know, she was filled with wariness and distrust toward Pei Jingji. Pei Jingji would find it nearly impossible to hypnotize her. Yet without concrete evidence of his illegal hypnosis and haunted by my warnings, she lived in constant fear of being exposed by Pei Jingji. Having been reborn and knowing I never awoke from his hypnosis in my past life, she was utterly terrified of Pei Jingji's methods. Under these circumstances, it's no surprise that sleep would be impossible. A woman who's spent her life relying on her children to assert her presence in front of men, with no other options left, has no choice but to turn to Aunt Xia for help, hoping to implant those embryos and give birth to Pei Jingji's child to secure her status as Mrs. Chung. After hearing all that, I finally let out a relieved smile. What could be more satisfying than watching your enemy wallow in misery with no hope of escape? That concludes our first story. Stay tuned for even more thrilling tales coming up next. My mother was diagnosed with stomach cancer. My husband said cancer is incurable and urged me to give up treatment. He said, rather than wasting money on hospitals, take her traveling instead, so we don't end up losing both her and our savings. If I insisted on treatment, he'd divorce me. After the divorce, we discovered my mom's diagnosis was wrong. It was actually his mother who had cancer. When he came asking to borrow money, I threw his own words back at him. If cancer has no cure, why don't you take your mom traveling instead? My mother-in-law kept complaining about stomach discomfort. Coincidentally, my own mom recently lost her appetite too, so I took both of them for endoscopies. To our shock, my mother-in-law only had mild inflammation, but my mom was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Holding that medical report, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I instinctively kept the test results to myself, telling the two elderly women there was nothing to worry about. Then, as if nothing had happened, I saw them safely home. It wasn't until I was the only one left on the bus that I finally let my guard down and broke into tears. I frantically dialed my husband's number. Coming from a single-parent family, he's the closest person to me in this world besides my mom. When I'm at my most vulnerable, he's the only one I can turn to. Hearing my sobs, Lu Wei's voice instantly tensed up. What's wrong, Jingjing? Did something show up in my mom's medical report? I shook my head, sobbing quietly. No, Lu Hui, it's my mom. She has stomach cancer. What am I supposed to do now? Lu Huai and I had been together for 10 years, and we even had a child together. Instinctively, I saw him as my entire support system, placing absolute trust in him. I thought he would comfort me and tell me not to worry, that we'd figure it out together, just as I'd comforted him time and again in his moments of defeat. But his next reaction hit me like a punch to the head, leaving me feeling as if I'd plunged into an icy abyss. When he realized it was my mom who had cancer, not his, he instinctively let out a sigh of relief, as if a weight had been lifted. Then, he asked me tentatively again, stomach cancer, Jing, are you still going to get treatment? His question completely stumped me. At first, there was a stunned pause, then an overwhelming wave of rage. My voice was almost a scream. Of course we'll treat her, how could we not, Lu Huai, she's my own mother. But my outburst had no effect. Lu Huai remained eerily calm. He let out a sigh, Jing. Stomach cancer is incurable, we're still paying off the car and mortgage, and Wen Chuan's tutoring fees alone stretch us thin every year. Where would we even get the money for your mom's cancer treatment? Turns out, in his eyes, a car, a house, or even his son's tutoring classes were all more important than my mother's life. Hilarious, absolutely ridiculous. It suddenly hit me. Our marriage feels like a complete farce. I even told him my mom had cancer, and his first reaction wasn't to comfort me. It was fear that treating her would lower my quality of life, so he tried to stop me from getting her treatment. I confronted him angrily. Lu Huai, if your mother got cancer, would you treat it? After a moment's silence, Lu Huai looked down at me and said, no, I'd take my mother traveling, let her spend her final days with dignity and purpose, not waste her remaining life in hospitals. I suddenly felt like laughing. Of course I don't believe he'd stay this calm if it actually happened to him. He only says that because the whip hasn't lashed his own back. If it were really his mother who was sick, he'd probably be more worried than I am. Back when his mom just caught the flu, he was so worried he rushed her to the hospital for admission, terrified she might take a turn for the worse. Now that it's my mom who's sick, suddenly he's all talk and no sympathy too. I wiped away my tears, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Travel, every cell in a terminal cancer patient's body is screaming in pain. How do you expect someone in that condition to drag themselves around? Without treatment, I might only have months left, but with proper care, I could live for years, maybe longer. Who are you to casually tell me to give up? Lu Huai knew he was in the wrong and was left speechless by my retort, but he still wanted to argue his case. But, I snapped impatiently, no more excuses. I've made up my mind to see my mother's treatment through to the end. If you won't contribute, fine, we'll sell this house. Remember I paid half when we bought it. We'll sell our marital home, and I'll use my share to cover Mom's medical bills. We originally bought this place for $1 million, splitting the cost 50-50, now it's worth over $2 million. My half alone would fully cover Mom's treatment. To my shock, Lu Huai still refused. Absolutely not. Jing, this is our marital home, where would we live if we sold it? And besides, even if you don't care about me, think about our son. This apartment is in a school district. Where's he supposed to go if we sell it? I let out a cold laugh. Since when does education depend on location? He's just started elementary school. Any school would do. Selling doesn't mean we can't rent, unless you're planning to live on the streets after this. Lu Huai heaved a long sigh, as if finally reaching a decision. Jing, if you're determined to go through with this, I have no choice but to divorce you. I'm your husband, not your father. I have no responsibility or obligation to pay for your mother's medical treatment. Choose between your mother and me though. Utterly disillusioned with Lu Huai, but when the word divorce slipped from his lips, it still felt like a knife twisting in my heart. I never imagined my marriage to Lu Huai would end over something like this. At my most vulnerable moment, the man I vowed to spend my life with chose to walk away. I can still hear our wedding vows echoing in my ears, his promise to stand by me through thick and thin. Yet at the first sign of trouble, he's ready to bail on me. What a cruel reality. Swallowing the bitterness in my heart, I nodded silently. All right, I'll take my mom to Beijing for medical treatment in a few days. Tomorrow, let's go to the civil affairs office to get our divorce certificate, and we might as well list the house for sale online while we're at it. Fine, Jing, don't come crying to me later. With that, Lu Huai hung up coldly. This moment is probably the darkest point in my life. A beloved family member was diagnosed with cancer, their future uncertain. Meanwhile, I just uncovered another relative's horrifying true nature. These twin agonies struck simultaneously, shattering my heart beyond measure. 3. I dragged myself home like a walking corpse, planning to pack some essentials before taking my son to stay at my mother's place for a few days. My mom misses her grandson dearly, and who knows when they'll get to see each other again after this parting. To my surprise, my mother-in-law was right there as soon as I stepped through the door. Right now, she's sitting on the sofa holding Wenchuan, glaring at me with anger. With a knowing glance from her, the boy dashed over and clung to my leg, sobbing, "Mom, can you please not divorce Dad? Chi-Chi's parents got divorced, and neither of them cares about her anymore. She's so miserable. I don't want to end up like that." Though I had no idea what my mother-in-law was up to, but seeing the child cry like that, my heart softened a little. I picked up my son and wiped the tears from his eyes. "Sweetheart, even if Mom and Dad get divorced, we'll always love you. Our love for you will never change." My son's eyes lit up as he asked me, "Really?" I gave him a firm nod. Just then, the mother-in-law cleared her throat a few times, as if deliberately hinting at something. The boy seemed to remember something and quickly spoke up, "No, if you really loved me, you wouldn't divorce Dad and sell the house. Where are we supposed to live if you sell our home?" I let out a sigh and gently stroked Wenchuan's head. "But sweetheart, Grandma is sick. If we sell the house, we'll have money to help her. You know how much she loves you. You wouldn't want anything bad to happen to her, right?" After I spoke, my son fell into deep thought. Just then, Grandma coughed softly. That's when my son spoke again. "But Grandma's illness is incurable. If you sell our house for her treatment, I won't be able to go to school, and Dad and Grandma will have nowhere to live. You only care about your mother. Have you ever considered me or Dad? You're a terrible mom." With that, he angrily wriggled out of my arms and ran sobbing into his grandmother's embrace. If Lu Huai's attitude felt like a deep wound, our son's words stabbed straight through my heart like a knife. I couldn't believe my well-raised son would say such a thing so casually. A real little ingrate. "My heart is broken." My mother-in-law shot my son an approving glance before turning to lecture me with an air of superiority. "See, even our Wenchuan knows cancer is a bottomless pit. There's no curing it, yet here you are, obsessing over treating your mother like some neurotic fool. Even if you won't consider me or Xiaohui, at least think about Wenchuan. As his mother, not only are you failing to plan for his future, you're trying to sell our home and drag him down. Sure, you're being filial, but what about Wenchuan? He's a boy. How's he supposed to find a wife without property?" My son clung to his grandmother, glaring at me with matching fury as if I were some child abandoning criminal. "But all I wanted was to use my own money to save my mother. What exactly did I do wrong?" I let out a cold laugh. "If it were you who had cancer, could you still so arrogantly tell your son to give up treatment?" "Lin Suiyu, I'm reclaiming my own money. What right do you have to moralize me here?" Lin Suiyu was bluntly rebuked by me. Her eyes instantly welled up, turning red as tears filled them in an instant. For at that moment, Lu Huai finally came storming out of the bedroom, seeing his mother sobbing uncontrollably while I stood there unfazed. He completely lost it. "He Jing, how dare you curse my mother? She was just trying to give you some well-meaning advice. You could have ignored it, but was that vicious remark really necessary? LOL, my mother-in-law just went off on me for ages, and Lu Huai didn't say a damn word, but the second I clapped back once, he jumped in to scold me like it was urgent. Now, I harbor not a shred of illusion about Lu Huai. Only disgust remains." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, did I say something wrong? Wasn't it you who said you'd give up treatment and let your mother die at home if she got cancer? How come it's fine when you curse your own mother, but not when I say it?" Just shifting the blame. Huh, as if that's hard to do. My mother-in-law turned the conflict between me and Lu Huai into one between me and our son, so I turned the conflict between us into an internal conflict among them instead. So far, the results have been remarkably effective. The mother-in-law stared at Lu Huai in disbelief. Seeing the uneasy look on his face, she immediately understood. She wailed at Lu Huai, "You ungrateful son, how can you talk to your mother like that? Have you been wishing for my death all along? Do you have any idea how hard it was raising you from diapers to adulthood? You ungrateful wretch." Look at her preaching about giving up treatment for my mom with such righteousness, but the moment it's about herself, she throws a tantrum. What a hypocrite. Lu Huai scrambled to placate his mother in a fluster. "Mom, that's not what I meant. If it were you, I'd absolutely save you. I had to say that to get He Jing to agree to stop the treatment." The last two sentences he said in a low voice, but I still heard them. At this moment, I was filled with contempt for Lu Huai. I rolled my eyes and replied coldly, "Oh, so you're saying all this just to make me give up on treating my mother and keep this house? Lu Huai, you're even more despicable than I imagined." Lu Huai was provoked by me. He completely dropped the act and revealed his true greedy nature. What's wrong with me refusing to sell the house? It's your mother who's sick, not mine. Why should I sell my own property to pay for your mother's treatment? Jing, don't look at me like that, you're no saint either. You only care about your mother and never considered me or Wen Xuan. I'm just trying to protect Wen Xuan's inheritance. Listen carefully, we can get divorced. But you'll have to choose between the house or our son. You don't get to have it all. I know exactly what game he's playing. He's trying to use maternal instinct against me, to make me give up my half of the property in exchange for custody of our son, but he's dead wrong. What's child custody compared to my mother's life? That means nothing, especially when it's custody of such an ungrateful little brat. I answered without thinking. There's no need to choose. Half of that house is mine, and no one can take it from me. As for who my son wants to be with, he'll make his own decision, and I won't interfere. Lu Huai was getting frantic. What if I just refuse to leave? All I need is to stall for a few months. No house sale, no divorce. Once your mother dies, that money's saved. Let's see what you can even do about it then. I wasn't annoyed at all. Looking at his face was like staring at a complete idiot. You think not selling the house or getting divorced will save money? Have you never heard of loans? I can easily take out a loan for my mom's treatment. With this house, I can borrow even more. Since we're still married, you'll be stuck paying it back with me. Don't come crying later when you regret this decision. Whether we go to the civil affairs office tomorrow or not is up to you. Either way, if we can't get the divorce, I'll take out a loan. There's always a way to treat my mom's illness. With that, I ignored Lu Huai and his mother's curses, grabbed my luggage, and walked away with a flourish. If they won't let you open a window, threaten to tear off the roof. When forced to choose the lesser evil, they'll settle for the window. Driven by self-interest, I was certain Lu Huai would give in. 5. I had just left when my phone rang. It was the hospital calling. We apologize, due to an intern nurse's oversight. Lin Suiru's, and He Chio's test reports were accidentally swapped. I felt dizzy, as if struck by an unbelievable stroke of luck, and tentatively asked, "What do you mean?" The person on the other end of the line explained to me. It means. A surge of wild joy swept over me, and the words spilled out. So you're saying it wasn't my mom who had stomach cancer, but my mother-in-law? The person on the phone gave an affirmative answer. Here's the thing, whenever you're free, you can bring them back to the hospital. We'd be happy to provide a complimentary checkup. I don't remember how the call ended. The weight that had been crushing my shoulders suddenly lifted, leaving me light as air, yet dazed, like a survivor still disbelieving their own escape. After the joy, I suddenly felt it must have been fate. This mishap, in essence, was a blessing and gift from heaven. If we'd found out from the start that it was my mother-in-law's fault, I'd never have seen through her and Lu Huai's true colors. I might have even foolishly bankrupted myself trying to save her and worn myself out caring for her day and night. In that case, I'd be the biggest fool in the world. I raced there like the wind, and soon I reached the building where my mom lived. I sprinted up the stairs and burst through the door, but I didn't expect to hear my mother-in-law's sharp tone the moment I walked in. A virtuous family reaps blessings, while a wicked one invites calamity. No wonder you got cancer. Your whole family is rotten to the core. Mom sat slumped on the couch, her face drained of all vitality. The mother-in-law's venomous curses kept pouring through the video call, leaving my mother speechless with terror and disbelief. She looked utterly broken. Seeing this, my vision turned red with rage. I rushed forward and snatched the phone from my mother's hand. Then I yelled at the old hag through the phone, "Who the hell are you calling selfish, you old witch? Listen here, you'll die before my mother does, I guarantee it, and when you croak, I'll throw a damn celebration with fireworks and fanfare." After cursing her out, I hung up before Lin Suiru could react, then blocked her number immediately. I'll be damned if I let her harass my mother again. Still fuming, I looked up to see my mother's distraught face. Her lips trembled as she spoke to me. "Jing, is it true what your mother-in-law said about me having cancer?" Worried she might panic, I quickly explained the situation to her. I first clarified it was all a misunderstanding, then walked her through the whole mix-up step by step, explaining that it was actually my mother-in-law who had cancer, not her. At first she didn't believe me, but she finally relaxed after I called the hospital again and she heard the truth directly from the doctor. After calming herself, she asked me again, "What are you going to do about your mother-in-law? She has cancer. What if she finds out and starts leaning on you?" Jing, you need to think about your own future." Seeing the worry in her eyes, I quickly understood what she meant. She feared I still loved Lu Huai, that I'd throw away everything to clean up his messes. sacrificing my own future to care for his mother with cancer, but she worried too much. I was perfectly clear-headed now. My husband is a selfish jerk, and my son is an ungrateful brat. I refuse to sacrifice myself for either of them anymore for the rest of my life. I'll live only for myself and my mother. I patted my mother's hand reassuringly and said, "No, Mom, I won't give them another chance to hurt me." 6. The next day, I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau as promised. When I arrived, I realized Lu Huai had gotten there before me. He leaned against the car door with a dark expression, as if someone owed him 5 million. The moment he saw me, he walked over with a stony expression. I laughed. "Well, you're here bright and early, must be really worried I'd take out a loan." Lu Huai snorted coldly. "How heartless can you be? Your mother has cancer and you're still smiling." I rolled my eyes inwardly. We'll see whose mother actually has cancer. Though I despised him inwardly, I kept a calm and indifferent demeanor on the surface. "Of course I'd laugh about divorcing you. This is a cause for celebration." Lu Huai was laughed. Speechless by my remark, his eyebrows twisting into knots, he said with considerable irritation, "You've got such a sharp tongue. One word from you could choke a person to death. Maybe your mom's cancer was caused by that nasty mouth of yours, or maybe it's karma biting back for all your reckless words. What goes around comes around. Justice served." Unwilling to part with the half of the house that was rightfully mine, he hurled what he believed to be the vilest insults at me, every word a dagger to the heart. Without that phone call, I might have actually broken down right there, letting his words trigger self-doubt and plunging into endless suffering. That way, he gets what he wants. Thankfully, my mom's illness turned out to be a false alarm. Now I feel invincible. I shot back, "Oh, my words can cause cancer. Then you and your mom better rush to the hospital. After all the trash I've talked, you two must be terminal by now." Lu Huai was left speechless by me once again. He was grinding his teeth in rage, glaring at me like he wanted to tear me apart. "Jing, watch your mouth. Do you want me to walk out right now and leave your mother without treatment money?" My eyes remained calm as I spoke coolly. "Whatever, it's not like we can't get a loan, just don't come crying when the repayments are due." Lu Huai got cold feet. After a moment's hesitation, he finally caved into me. "Fine, I agree to divide the assets, but on one condition: the child stays with me, and you'll pay child support on time. From now on, your mother's medical bills are none of my business. Don't ever show up at my door asking for money because of her illness again." He's clearly terrified I'll become dependent on him. I bore his child, yet when he learned my mother had cancer, not only did he refuse to share any expenses, but he even had the nerve to demand child support. What heartless selfishness! But I'm done playing his games. To speed up the divorce, I simply nodded in agreement. "All right, I promise you." 7. Since both parties reached an agreement, the divorce proceedings went smoothly. They just need to return in a month to collect the final divorce certificate. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lu Huai and I contacted a real estate agent together and listed our wedding home on their official website. Before parting ways, I offered one last piece of friendly advice. "I genuinely suggest taking your mom to the hospital for a checkup. Who knows, she might actually have stomach cancer. Early detection saves lives." Though my tone sounded sincere, my face betrayed obvious mockery. Seeing my shit-eating grin, Lu Huai lost his temper. "Jing, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop cursing my mother. Say it again and I swear I won't hold back." I quickly suppressed my smile and pressed my lips together, said sorrowfully, "All right, I won't bring it up again." Only then did Lu Huai seem satisfied, shooting me a disdainful glance before walking away. I felt a great weight lifted off my shoulders. "Take out your phone and turn off the recording. My duty to remind you is done." "Lu Huai, this is all on you for refusing to believe it." To prevent things from getting out, I signed my mom up for a 1-month tour group, sending her out to relax and take a break. Since the house was listed at a fair price, we quickly found a suitable buyer and closed the deal. Lu Huai and I split the proceeds on the spot, go halves, so no one gets the short end of the stick. Before long, the 1-month waiting period ended, and I officially received my divorce papers. The moment we got our divorce certificates, both Lu Huai and I heaved a sigh of relief, mutually relieved we no longer had to bear responsibility for each other. Then, out of nowhere, Lu Huai suddenly struck up a conversation with me. It seemed he was trying to explain himself. "Jing, don't think I'm heartless. Any man would run from this situation. Cancer is a bottomless pit. If you insist on treating your mother, even my wealth would eventually be drained. I have to think about our son. I can't afford to be as reckless as you." For the first time, I didn't argue but nodded in agreement instead. Yeah, you're right, I should learn from you. Lu Huai clearly didn't expect this reaction from me. He scratched his head awkwardly before breaking into a smile. Glad you understand. I smiled without committing to an answer, almost as if he was afraid I'd actually ask to borrow money the day after getting my divorce papers. I saw Lu Huai post about buying a new car on Moments. I checked, that car costs at least $500,000. He used the remaining housing funds for a down payment, taking on a 30-year mortgage. There's probably next to nothing left of the money. While scrolling, I came across another video posted by Lin Suiru. In the video, all her relatives gathered to celebrate the new year, their faces beaming with joy. Holding Wenxuan in her arms, the grandmother playfully asked, Xian, what's your new year's wish? Wenxuan answered almost without hesitation, I want a new mommy. The whole room burst into laughter, with grandma's wrinkles scrunching up as she chuckled. She then asked again, why, was your old mommy not good enough? Wenxuan shook his head vigorously like a rattledrum and said, no, she's a bad mommy. That old hag keeps giving money to her parents' family every day. Xian doesn't want her. Daddy and grandma are much nicer. Xian wants a pretty new mommy, after all. He's flesh of my flesh, though I'd braced myself for this. Hearing those words still stung more than I expected. I truly believed I'd given my all in raising this child, but whether it's bad genes or his grandmother's influence, he's turned into this absolute mess. If I still had any doubts before, I'm completely resolved now. I'm washing my hands of this kid. I cancelled Lu Wenxuan's $20 per session piano lessons and all his extracurriculars, which instantly saves me $2,000 to $3,000 a month. How much better to spend this money on clothes for me and my mom, way more satisfying than wasting it on that ungrateful brat. That's when my mother-in-law lost it. The next day, she camped outside my building screaming obscenities. He Jing, get your ass out here. Your divorce from my son is between you two. Why take it out on the child? Canceling his tutoring. How's he supposed to get ahead now? How irresponsible can you be? I wasn't going to let her slander me, so I grabbed my phone and headed downstairs. She started cursing even more fiercely once she saw me. Do you have any idea how badly the child is crying at home? He thinks you hate him, so not only did you leave him in the divorce, but you even stopped his piano lessons. How can you be so heartless? I looked at her doubtfully. Wasn't it you who refused to grant me custody of my son? How did it suddenly become me abandoning him? Besides, I just transferred his child support payment the other day. That money is more than enough to cover his tutoring fees. Hearing this, the crowd immediately caught on. Their gazes held a touch of pity when they looked at me, but when their eyes turned to Lin Suiru, they were filled with scorn. The truth is clear. I'm a pitiful mother who lost custody of my child, while Lin Suiyu and her son are the villains who took advantage and then acted innocent, snatching the child away and now demanding child support from me every month, even charging me for his tutoring classes. Whispers from the onlookers made Lin Suiru's face burn with embarrassment. She glared at me in anger, speaking without thinking. No wonder your mom got cancer. Karma's a bitch. I'm confused again. What? Who said my mom has cancer? You mixed up her medical report with yours. It's you who has cancer, not her. What? Didn't your son tell you? At that moment, Lin Suiru's composure finally cracked. Fear was written all over her face as she forced a calm tone. How's that possible? Are you kidding me? Didn't your mom get hospitalized ages ago? Stop scaring me like this. The moment she finished speaking, my mother walked through the door, fresh from square dancing in her stylish outfit. She radiated vitality, not a trace of illness to be seen. Lin Suiru was stunned. I went on, see, my mom's perfectly healthy. Weird. I specifically told Lu Huai about this before and even suggested he take you for a checkup. How could he be so careless about it? You could tell I wasn't lying by my words, and there was even a hint of sympathy in her eyes. Lin Suiru finally believed it. She collapsed on the spot, coughed up blood, and passed out cold. In the end, I ended up calling 120 for her and took her to the hospital for emergency treatment. An hour later, Lu Huai rushed to the hospital in a hurry. 2 police officers followed close behind him. Clearly he'd called them, intending to have me arrested. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he flew into a rage the moment he saw me. Officers. That's her. She hid my mother's illness to force a divorce, delaying critical treatment. Hurry up and arrest her. Before he could finish, I slapped him across the face. I glared at him and shouted, you bastard. I told you a month ago to take mom to the hospital for a checkup. Why didn't you listen? Now look what's happened. She's lying in there fighting for her life. Are you happy now? Lu Huai stared at me in disbelief, almost as if thinking, If I'd stolen his lines, what was left for him to say? I didn't give him a chance to retort, firing off one sharp remark after another. That's your own mother lying in there. Divorcing me to shirk responsibility when my mom got sick was bad enough, but now you're withholding medical treatment from the woman who raised you just to save money. Have you no humanity left? Lu Huai flushed with anger and immediately began protesting. That's not true, you're lying. I ignored him and proceeded to play the recording without another word in the recording. I earnestly urged Lu Huai to take his mother to the hospital for a checkup, explaining that her symptoms strongly suggested stomach cancer, but Lu Huai dismissed me with visible irritation, saying he'd told me repeatedly to stop jinxing his mother with such talk, or he'd make me regret it. This recording was made the day after the hospital notified me. His use of phrases like repeatedly and again proves I'd advised him multiple times before. He simply refused to listen. I looked at him with a frustrated expression, as if I were exasperated by his lack of potential. It wasn't me who killed your mother, it was your refusal to face the truth that did, and I have reason to suspect you deliberately avoided treating your mother, hiding her condition from her. After I told you about her illness, you repeatedly made large expenditures, buying a car, buying a house, leaving not a single penny for her medical treatment. You're clearly trying to kill her. Under the officer's scrutinizing gaze, Lu Huai's face flushed crimson. In an instant he flushed crimson with agitation while defending himself. Bullshit, I was just afraid you'd borrow money from me. I never meant any harm to my mother. I pressed him calmly but persistently. Why would I borrow from you? My mother isn't sick, yours is. That excuse doesn't hold water. I shot down every one of Lu Huai's arguments, leaving him speechless with rage as he couldn't find any rebuttal. Blinded by fury, Lu Huai actually tried to throw a punch at me. I'll fight you to the death. Of course, his fist never connected. I swiftly dodged behind the police officer and stuck my tongue out at him when he wasn't looking. The cops were so exasperated they could only laugh. You think you can pull something right in front of us? Do we look like we're just here for decoration? Lu Huai burst into tears. I didn't. She started it first. I'm not. The officers didn't even listen to his explanation, instead giving him a stern lecture before hauling him to the station to write a thorough self-criticism. The police car he'd summoned ended up taking him away instead. Before he left, I made sure he reimbursed my medical expenses, then walked away with a swagger under Lu Huai's murderous glare. 10 Lin Suiru's stomach cancer has reached an advanced stage. Lu Huai now faces two choices. One option is to go all out to treat his mother's illness, but that would mean losing his newly bought car and house, and likely accumulating a huge amount of debt. The second option was what he had mentioned earlier, foregoing treatment and instead taking his mother on a trip, letting her spend her final days traveling. To my utter exasperation, he ultimately went with the third option, which was getting his mother treated without spending a dime of his own money. The idiot actually had the gall to ask me for a loan. He had the nerve to say over the phone, "Hey Jing, since you're not using your money for anything right now, how about lending it to me? For old time's sake, I need to cover my mom's medical bills. When it's a matter of life and death, you can't just stand by and do nothing, can you? I think he's sick." I flatly refused him and gave him a few sarcastic remarks. No way, that's odd. Why are you borrowing money for your mom's treatment? Didn't you say cancer was incurable? Shouldn't you be packing right now to take her traveling instead? Then, stifling laughter, I hung up amid Lu Huai's uncontrollable roaring. Later, I received another call from Wen Xian. He called me in tears, begging for money. "Mom, Grandma's sick and needs expensive treatment. Could you wire me the money?" I shut him down without mercy. "Absolutely not. You wouldn't let me help when your maternal grandmother was ill, so you've got no right asking now. Wen Xuan, my monthly child support payments already fulfill all my maternal obligations." No sooner had the words been spoken than Lu Wenchuan burst into loud sobs. He cursed at me angrily. "You're a terrible mother. I don't want you anymore. If you won't save Grandma now, I won't take care of you when you're old," I said with a grin. I never really expected anything from you in the first place. With that, I ignored Lu Wenchuan's sobbing and hung up the phone. Just when I thought the matter was settled, Lu Huai and his crew spun that call log into a whole new drama. A few days later, I saw myself trending on the local hot search. They manipulated and edited recordings to portray me as a villain, someone who abandoned her husband after discovering her mother-in-law had cancer, leaving without a second thought. Driven by selfish motives to remarry, I supposedly abandoned my young son and left both him and the ill mother-in-law in Lu Huai's care. In the video, Lu Huai recounts his hardships with red-rimmed eyes, while in the background of Lin Suiru's hospital room, Lu Wenchuan dutifully pours her a glass of water, because Lu Huai is quite handsome. He's won the hearts of many female fans, who've generously donated to help him through his tough times in just a few days. They raised 6 figures in donations. Meanwhile, my DMs were flooded with hate. Are you even human, abandoning your husband and son after learning your mother-in-law has cancer? How heartless can you be? Your mother will get cancer too. Karma's coming for you. Women and petty men are hardest to deal with. You're living proof of that saying. Honestly, these DMs don't upset me at all. I can already picture them coming back with red faces to apologize once they learn the truth. To be honest, it's pretty funny. With that thought, I didn't hesitate. I immediately began organizing the evidence I had, preparing to fight back. Given the nature of my job requiring frequent client communication, I've enabled automatic call recording on my phone to ensure no critical information slips through. I compiled recent call recordings with Lu Huai, including his objection to treating my mother's cancer and his shameless remark that he wouldn't treat his own mother if she were ill. Every damning word is documented. These recordings will serve as irrefutable evidence to nail Lu Huai. Just as expected, the video sparked massive backlash the moment it went public. Lu Huai's reputation plummeted from heaven to hell. Once seen as a devoted son and loving father, he's now exposed as a hypocritical, selfish scumbag. Meanwhile, I transformed from a self-serving gold digger into the ultimate heroine of a power fantasy, a celebrated queen bee whose rags to riches journey made people say, "This is like a wish fulfillment novel come to life." Lu Huai's followers became mine. This is the law of conservation of flow. That's how I gained a massive following and became a minor internet celebrity. The clapback video went viral to the point where brands started asking to place ads in my comment section, but I turned them down. After all, Lu Huai's mom will die eventually, and people might pity her then. I don't want to be accused of profiting from her tragedy after the dust settles. Making money isn't something I need to rush right this moment. 11. Lu Huai deleted his account and skipped town. Many netizens demanded refunds, but he refused by claiming the money had been used for his mother's medical treatment. But even though he saved his money, he was already socially dead. It said he was also fired from the company over this incident and ended up jobless under crushing financial pressure. He ultimately decided to withdraw his mother's medical treatment and took her home to rely on traditional Chinese medicine instead. Meanwhile, this online harassment ironically made me financially independent overnight. While Lu Huai was at home eating steamed buns and pickled vegetables with his mom, I was traveling abroad on vacation with my mom. As I lay on the golden sand, basking in the sea breeze and warm sunlight, Lu Wenchuan's call came through once again. It's a bit noisy on the phone. The muffled sounds of Lu Huai arguing with his mother drifted through. Lu Huai retorted, giving up on treatment. "I'm just taking you home for a trip. Don't make it sound so harsh. Cancer can't be cured. Anyway, isn't it better to let you enjoy what time you have left? Why waste money on the hospital?" Lin Suiru was so furious she could have exploded, scolding him, "Go play yourself. I'm in agony right now. Where am I supposed to find the energy to play? You ungrateful brat. If I'd known this back then, I never would have given birth to you. At least then I wouldn't be sick and no one would even bother to treat me. You're not even half as decent as He Jing." At least she had the heart to sell her home to save her mother. But you, just a heartless ingrate. Lu Huai didn't indulge her either, firing back with insults. "That's what you deserve. Don't forget, you're the one who drove her away. Had you treated her better back then, she wouldn't have abandoned you now." What followed was an escalating exchange of increasingly vicious curses between them. Lu Wenchuan was sobbing uncontrollably, clearly terrified. He begged me in tears, "Mom, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Dad and Grandma don't care about me anymore. And sometimes Dad even hits me. I don't want to stay with him. Can I live with you from now on? I miss you and Grandma so much." Does he truly realize his mistake? Not necessarily. The only reason he's choosing me now is because life with me is better than what he's got. Just like why he picked Lu Huai in the first place. I'll never forget the betrayal he pulled on me before, so I only spoke softly. "I'm not good enough. I'm a bad mom. You should go find your young, beautiful new mom instead." Then, ignoring his cries, she hung up the phone and blocked his number. From now on, I will have no further contact with him or Lu Huai, except for the fixed child support payments. Forgot to mention, my account's real name verification is under my mom's name. I'm just her little employee in name only, earning a few thousand yuan a month. Even for child support, 2,000 a month is the absolute maximum. I won't let Lu Huai and his crew take a single extra penny from me. From now on, I'll only spend my money on myself and Mom, and live solely for us two. After navigating through all those thorns and hardships, my path ahead will be nothing but smooth sailing. Story 2. 5 years after our breakup, I suddenly received a call from Lu Ji, Shinshinyue. We're getting our marriage certificate at the Civil Affairs Bureau in 5 days. Our wedding will be held at Hill Manor, the grand, once-in-a-lifetime celebration I promised you. My mind went completely blank, and in my shock, I blurted out, didn't we break up 5 years ago? A scoff came from the other side. Break up? I never agreed to that. You suddenly came back to the country because you heard I'm getting married, didn't you? Don't worry, you're the one I'm marrying. As for Susu, I hope you can be understanding. She's been by my side through all 1,800 plus days you were gone. I trust you'll treat her well. I rolled my eyes and hung up immediately. Suddenly, several bullet comments appeared before my eyes. The female lead vanished without a word. For 5 years. Don't be fooled by Lu Ji's tough talk. His heart is utterly shattered. Lu Ji spread the word about marrying Li Susu, but it was all to give the female lead a grand wedding, and sure enough, the moment she returned to the country, he came running after her. Where was Lu Ji all this time? Now I have a wonderful husband and 2 lovely children. Why would I care about that piece of trash? I pressed the power button and tossed the phone aside, tired of the endless stream of messages and calls. In the dead of night, faint but persistent knocking echoed through the silence. Open up, Shinshinyue. How much longer are you going to keep this childish tantrum going? The racket was downright obnoxious. I flung the villa door open, and Lu Ji stumbled to an awkward halt. His gaze locked onto my face, then swept over me from head to toe before he let out a scornful laugh. TSK. Is this the sorry state you've ended up in without me? That's when I noticed the loungewear I'd hastily thrown on in my rush actually belonged to my mom. The color was a bit dated, but the fabric was wonderfully comfortable. I was just about to speak when Lu Ji cut me off. Alright, since you've realized your mistake and come back, I won't dwell on how you stormed off back then. Lu Ji's tone shifted, his smile fading slightly, but I can't forgive you on Susu's behalf for that slap you gave her. We're only able to marry now because of her generosity. I hope you'll apologize to her. Susu is gentle and kind. She's been taking care of me all this time you were gone. Because of you, I couldn't give her the status she deserved, but I hope you'll treat her like a sister. Let's give her a real home together. 1,000 curses raced through my mind, yet my face remained a placid mask. After all, I was no longer that naive girl, and Lu Ji wasn't worth another ounce of my emotional energy. If I showed any anger, he'd probably mistake it for jealousy over Li Susu. What makes you think you're irreplaceable to me? Lu Ji, have you ever considered how 5 years is long enough for me to have gotten married and started a family? Lu Ji's gaze swept over my slender waist as he let out a mocking laugh. Everyone in our circle knows you're my woman. You've always been hot-tempered and willful since childhood. Who else would put up with you besides me? Shinyue, with your family's downfall, no respectable clan would accept you as their matriarch. Who but me would ever marry you? I found it so absurd that I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lu Ji and I were a perfect match from the start, our marriage arranged since childhood. Though ours was an arranged union, we shared genuine affection. He'd promised me a grand wedding at Hill Manor after graduation, a celebration for the ages. Before he even graduated, he killed Li Susu's grandmother in a street racing accident. With her dying breath, she entrusted the girl to his care, and from then on, he had a little shadow following him everywhere. Li Susu kept provoking me until I finally snapped and slapped her across the face. Lu Ji held her in his arms, his face full of disappointment. You know perfectly well how pitiful Susu's situation is. She's lost her only family. I'm her last remaining support. Couldn't you just cut her some slack? In my heart, she's like a sister to me. You'll be her sister-in-law. So can you stop being so petty about everything? Seems I've been too lenient with you. You need to cool off and think things through. His idea of cooling off was giving me the cold shoulder for 3 months while parading around town every day with Li Susu, flaunting their relationship. Everyone knows Lu Ji dumped me for someone new. I left him a message. Let's break up. Without looking back, I went to Paris, France to travel and clear my mind. Little did I know that this trip would lead me to meet my current husband. You smiled. And I knew I had a place in your heart. Otherwise, why would you smile at me? Lu Ji reached out to touch my face, but I turned away to avoid his hand and let my smile fade. My naturally cheerful disposition seems to have given Mr. Lu the wrong impression. Lu Ji shook his head with a resigned sigh, a doting smile spreading across his face. Shinyue, you're still as mischievous as ever, but once we're married, you won't be able to avoid me anymore. I know exactly how much you love me. After 5 years of waiting, I'll make sure our wedding is absolutely perfect. As the conversation veered further off track, I stomped hard on his toes and ground my foot down, seizing the moment while Lu Ji was in pain. I swiftly slammed the door shut and bolted it in one fluid motion. Too bad I was wearing flats instead of heels. Through the heavy door, I left him with these words, "Lu Ji, get lost. It's been over between us for ages." The barrage comments popped up again. Good news. The male lead can speak. Bad news. Why did he have to open his mouth? Should have been born mute. Now I get why the female lead ran away. Serves him right with his eternal bachelorhood. Honestly, I just want to slap the male lead right now. The female lead should just focus on herself. Please. Lu Ji looked at the shoe print on his foot, then gave me a look like he'd seen right through me. Alright, since you're feeling shy, I won't come in today. Tomorrow I'll have someone bring over the wedding dress for you to try on. Susu picked it out. It fit her perfectly. Since you girls have similar taste and you don't look like you've gained weight, it should probably fit you too. My upbringing prevents me from cursing, suddenly regretting turning down that person's company. Coming back to the country alone was clearly a bad call. I couldn't help but kick the door, signaling for him to shut up. Lu Ji frowned. Shenxingyue, you really need to work on that temper of yours. If you carry on like this, you'll never be fit to be the lady of the Lu household. You should take a page out of Susu's book. The family business has indeed been on the decline these past couple of years. With my parents getting on in years, they handed over full management to professional executives and have since moved in with me to enjoy their golden years surrounded by family. That's why I'm alone in the villa right now. Otherwise, I would have had someone throw him out long ago. Humph. Lu Ji, since you think Li Susu is so perfect, why don't you just marry her instead? I really mean it. Gotta admit, they make a good match. Birds of a feather flock together. Just don't drag me into it. Lu Ji's laughter echoed from outside the door again. Xingyue, you're getting jealous again. How many times do I have to say it? You're the only one in my heart. I won't reciprocate Susu's feelings. Just wait patiently to put on that wedding dress and become my bride. As the sound of footsteps faded into the distance, I was overcome with the frustrating sense of casting pearls before swine. Oh well. In a few days, my parents will return to the country with the children, and that person will be with them. Once Lu Ji sees this, he'll naturally stop pestering me. When day broke, the Lu family indeed sent someone over with the wedding dress. It's in a gift box, and I haven't opened it, having already worn a one-of-a-kind wedding dress custom-made just for me. Why would I care about a second-hand gown someone else has tried on? I took the gold-embossed invitation handed to me by Chen Xian, Lu Ji's assistant. I noticed the bride's name was printed as Li Susu, but it had been crossed out and replaced with Shenxingyue. I let out a cold laugh and tossed the invitation back into Chen Xian's hands. You've got the wrong person, Assistant Chen. Take the wedding dress to Miss Li. I'm sure she'd be absolutely thrilled. Chen Xian's face instantly darkened. Miss Shen, this wedding was always meant for CEO Lu and Miss Li. You're the one who came between them and made him change his heart. Don't act all innocent now. I really don't get what Mr. Lu sees in you. How could he hurt such a kind and wonderful woman like Miss Li for your sake? Just as they say, one rotten apple spoils the whole barrel. Stupidity really is contagious. I ignored Chen Xian's barking behind me and strode away. After all these years away, I've really missed Yanting's private kitchen dishes. My luck's been terrible lately. My car broke down halfway there, so I had to take a taxi to Yanting's entrance. The moment I stepped out of the car, I saw Lu Ji opening his car door at the same time. He raised an eyebrow. You sent back the wedding dress I had delivered, and now you're following me to Yanting. Shenxingyue, why must you be so contradictory? I know you care about me, but this stalking behavior is despicable. You're bothered by Susu's presence, but if I wanted to be with her, I would have been with her long ago. I rolled my eyes and walked past him straight towards the banquet hall entrance. Lu Ji jogged a couple steps and grabbed my arm. Shenxingyue, stop pretending. I just saw you arriving by taxi. Has the Shen family gone bankrupt? Are you so broke you can't even afford a car now? Don't think I'm looking down on you, but you have no business spending money at a place like this. If you're just putting on a brave face and end up without money to pay, don't come crying to me later. Our family business may not be as profitable as before, but we're certainly not struggling to put food on the table. Just because you saw me taking a taxi, you assumed my family is going bankrupt. I simply can't follow Lu Ji's train of thought. Unclenching my fists, I made an effort to keep my voice steady. I think you should eat more walnuts. Good for your brain. Lu Ji flashed a knowing smile again. You still remember I love walnuts. Never mind, I'll let it slide this time. Since you're here, this works out perfectly. I've invited my buddies today, and Susu's here too, with everyone around. It's a good chance for you to apologize to her. Let bygones be bygones. I pulled back the foot I had stepped into the banquet hall with. No, even the most delicious food would be hard to swallow with him sitting across from me. Just as I turned to leave, a figure blocked my path. Sis, why do you leave as soon as you see me? Lee Susu had shed her former simplicity, dressed like a wealthy heiress, even in sky-high heels. She barely reached my height. She shot Lu Ji a wounded look before turning back to me. Are you upset about the invitation, sis? You've been gone for 5 years. When Brother Ji suddenly announced his wedding, everyone assumed I was the bride. That's how the names got mixed up. If you must blame someone, blame me. I couldn't help falling for him, though we only spent 5 years together. Those moments are forever etched in my heart. But since Ji's heart belongs to you, I'll step aside. A single tear of heartbreak traced its way down Lee Susu's cheek as she spoke. Don't cry, Susu. Lu Ji's heart ached as he pulled Lee Susu into a protective embrace, shooting me a furious glare. Shinshinyue, I thought you'd changed for the better, but you're still as unreasonable as ever. I hadn't even said a word, and she started crying. I met Lu Ji's gaze, my eyes cold and unyielding. Lu Ji paused for a moment, his tone softening. Shinyue, you've lived a privileged life since childhood. Susu has had a difficult upbringing, so you can't understand her emotional sensitivity. Even though you didn't say anything, your attitude alone was enough to hurt her deeply. I hope you can apologize to Susu. After all, as the older sister, you should be caring and protective of your younger sister. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Who says I'm her sister? I'm an only child. Please don't go claiming relationships that don't exist. And pray tell, was I the one who made her life so pitiful? If I recall correctly, it was you who ran over. Enough. Lu Ji's face darkened with disappointment. Shinshinyue, if you still wish to marry into the Lu family, stop this nonsense at once. Brother Lu, what's so great about Shinshinyue? She vanished abroad without a word and cut off all contact. You drowned yourself in alcohol because of her. If Susu hadn't found you in time, you'd have ended up with a stomach perforation. Exactly, Brother Lu. We've all seen how devoted Susu is to you. She's waited 5 years for you. In our hearts, she's the only one we acknowledge as our sister-in-law. Shinshinyue, if I were you, I wouldn't have the nerve to stand here. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You were the one who dumped Brother Lu back then. And now you can't stand seeing him happy with Susu, so you're deliberately trying to sabotage them. How pathetic. When Lu Ji's so-called friends noticed he and Lee Susu hadn't entered the private room for a while, they came out looking and found the three of us in a standoff. They immediately banded together to gang up on me. Lee Susu was nestled in Lu Ji's embrace, her eyes slightly reddened. With a single tear still clinging precariously to the corner of her eye, she slipped the bracelet off her wrist and handed it to me, a hint of reluctance in her gesture. Sister, this bracelet was a gift from your mother. She said only a daughter-in-law of the Lu family is worthy of wearing it. Today, I'm returning it to its rightful owner. Lu Ji intercepted her, slipping the bracelet back onto her wrist. If my mother gave it to you, then it's yours. There's no need to force yourself like this. Lee Susu smiled, her face glowing with happiness, until she froze upon hearing Lu Ji say, don't worry about Shinyue. I bought a premium glass-type jade and planned to have it made into a bracelet for her as compensation. My face froze. I took a deep breath and said, word by word, I'm married, and I have 2 children. The surroundings fell into complete silence, yet Lu Ji unhurriedly released Lee Susu and strolled over to stand before me. Shinshinyue, stop joking like this. Even if you're upset, you shouldn't tell such a huge lie. I've already checked, your marital status is single, and it's impossible for you to have any children. Or are you saying that 5 years ago, you ran off pregnant and gave birth to a pair of children for me? Lu Ji's group of friends burst into loud laughter, while Lee Susu fumed and secretly stamped her foot in anger. I quietly pulled out my phone, ready to show them my 2 adorable little treasures. As if reading my mind, a video call came through. I answered to see 2 identical chubby-cheeked dumplings on the screen. 2 milky little voices chimed in unison, instantly capturing everyone's attention. Lu Ji's breath hitched. He snatched my phone and stared intently at the 2 little figures on the screen. They look barely over 2 years old. There's no way they're 5. Mister, who are you? Can you give the phone back to my mom? Debeo looked puzzled as he stared at the strange man across from him. Lu Ji's breathing grew ragged, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Who is your mother? Mom is just mom, Debeo said, confused. Silly brother, moms Name is Yaya. Xiaobao waved her little pink fists, the phone hit the ground and the screen instantly went black, but the comment section exploded. Holy crap, what's going on? Is the male lead being cheated on? If this is a running away while pregnant trope, those kids would have to be at least 4 or 5 years old now. So, you know what that means. Stop making wild guesses. Everyone, have you forgotten this is a chasing wife through hell trope? The kids are just plot devices the author created as obstacles for the male lead's pursuit. Couldn't this be the female lead testing him? These two babies are absolutely adorable, like little glutinous rice balls. Auntie just wants to gobble them up with kisses. My mind is completely preoccupied with the abruptly cut off video call. I hope the twins didn't get scared and start crying. I picked up my phone and kept trying to turn it on. But no matter which button I pressed, the screen remained black, watching Lu Ji standing there. In agony, I slapped him across the face. Lu Ji stared at me in disbelief. Xinxingyue, how dare you hit me? You'd raise your hand against me for two bastards. I'm slapped again. Lu Ji grabbed my wrist, his eyes clouded with an impenetrable gloom. Are you that desperate for company? The moment we part ways, you're already cozying up to some random man. Tell me, who is it? How dare he lay a hand on my woman? I'll make sure he suffers a miserable end. Watching the hysterical man before me, I suddenly felt utterly disgusted. Belated affection is cheaper than weeds, let alone this nauseating so-called devotion. Seeing my silence, Lu Ji seemed to have thought of something and shot me a contemptuous look. Xinxingyue, don't tell me you were fooled by some scoundrel, had two bastards, and got dumped. Seizing the opportunity, Li Susu grasped Lu Ji's other hand. Sis, how could you be so reckless with yourself? Brother Ji waited 5 long years for you, and this is how you treat him. How are you even worthy of Brother Ji now? I thought stepping aside would make him happy, but clearly I was wrong. I won't let go of him anymore. Lu Ji's group of friends all tried to talk him out of it. Brother Lu, you can't possibly want a woman with no shame like her. Marrying her would make the Lu family a laughingstock. Just let her get lost. Only Susu's genuine devotion is worthy of Brother Lu's meticulously planned wedding of the century. Lu Ji closed his eyes, his brow furrowed tightly before gradually relaxing. Moments later he released my wrist, shoving me aside, then took Li Susu's hand, interlacing their fingers together. In 3 days, we invite everyone to Hill Manor for Susu's and my wedding ceremony. Li Susu flushed with excitement, casting a triumphant look in my direction. Her eyes seemed to say, see, you're no match for me. Lu Ji also turned to me, his gaze filled with complex emotions. Xingyue, you were supposed to be the one I'd walk down the aisle with. But you threw it all away with your affairs. The Lu family could never accept someone like you as our matriarch, so I can't keep the promise I made back then. Even though you brought this on yourself, I still can't let you go. He sighed, his voice tinged with bitterness. We grew up together since childhood. I never thought we'd end up like this. You're counting on the fact that I still care about you, thinking I'm helpless against you, aren't you? Xinxingyue, you're heartless. How is it that I just can't let you go? Lu Ji murmured, his voice choked with emotion. Xinxingyue, you no longer deserve to be my wife, but I'm willing to keep a place for you. Send those two bastards away, and I'll take you back. Susu is understanding and generous. As long as you stop causing trouble, she'll surely make room for you. How shameless is he to even suggest I become his mistress? Though jealousy flashed in Li Susu's eyes, she feigned magnanimity as she said, Sister, this is your last chance. If you're willing to turn over a new leaf and serve Brother Ji properly with me, I'm prepared to let bygones be bygones and accept you. A dark line slid down my temple. First, I will not give up my child, and I want absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Lu. Second, Miss Li, stop resenting me. I have no interest in competing with you over a man, and please spare me the fake sister act. Doesn't all that pretending exhaust you? Third, I sincerely wish you both a lifetime of happiness and a child soon. Lu Ji was convinced I was just being stubborn, so he patiently replied, alright, don't just stand there blocking the doorway, let's head into the private room. Xingyue, I know you love Yanting's Buddha jumps over the wall and sweet and sour mandarin fish. I'll order both for you, so stop giving me the cold shoulder. My patience isn't endless. A comment floats across the screen. The plot's taking a weird turn. Is the male lead deliberately missing the point? It's not just the male lead who's clueless, the female supporting character and his entire crew are all completely unreasonable. I can't help but feel so bad for the female lead. Being the only sane person stuck with a bunch of lunatics must be utterly exhausting. I'm completely drained. Honestly, there's no way I could take on all of them in a fight. Talk. How are we supposed to communicate if you can't understand human language? Call for backup. My phone's broken. Lee Susu's voice was tinged with glee. Why did sister leave? Was she unhappy with your arrangements, brother Ji? Humph, she's too ashamed to show her face. Forget about her. Let's just eat. We'll have Chen Xian pack up her favorite dishes and bring them over later. Lu Ji's voice drifted toward me from a distance, and I instinctively quickened my pace. By the time I got home, the sun had already set. Chen Xian was waiting at my doorstep. Seeing me get out of the car, he placed the takeout container on the ground, deliberately blocking my path. The takeout bag was printed with the words Yan Ting, and even through the bag, you could smell a rich, aromatic fragrance. Take it away, I said coldly. Chen Xian wore a look of utter disdain. Miss Shen, you're nothing but Mr. Lu's mistress now. What gives you the right to defy him? I suggest you pick up that food from the ground and stop displeasing Mr. Lu, or you won't even get these scraps anymore. I kicked the packaging away without a glance in his direction and strode straight into the villa. The next day, I found a familiar gold-embossed invitation. At the entrance, it must have been left by Chen Xian yesterday. Groom, Lu Ji. Bride, Lee Susu. I pressed my hand against my forehead. Is Lu Ji that desperate to have me attend his wedding? Very well. He shall have his wish. Hill Manor spans nearly 10,000 acres, embraced by mountains on 3 sides and opening to the sea on the 4th. Its breathtaking scenery resembles a painting of an enchanted realm. My lifelong dream was to have a fairy tale wedding at Hill Manor. That dream came true long ago. The person even purchased Hill Manor and gifted it to me as a wedding present. From that day forward, I've opened Hill Manor to host complimentary weddings for couples in love. Only one couple is selected per month through a lottery system for those destined to be chosen. My investigation revealed that an insider accepted bribes to rig the selection process in Lu Ji's favor. I instructed the manager of Hill Manor to proceed with arrangements, ensuring Lu Ji would have an unforgettable wedding. The 2 days flew by, and on the wedding day I arrived at Hill Manor with my security team. The wedding ceremony is taking place on the island in the center of the lake. The bodyguards had already gone in ahead and blended into the crowd. The attendant at the entrance glanced at my invitation and immediately stopped me. Miss Shen, this invitation of yours is specially made. The bride specifically instructed that you must wait outside and can only enter the main area after the ring exchange ceremony is complete. Is Lee Susu trying to set rules for me? I kept walking inside without stopping, and the waiter rushed forward to grab me. Are you sure you want to grab my dress? This haute couture gown I'm wearing costs 3 million. Upon hearing the price, the waiter didn't dare to stop me anymore and retreated to the entrance in fear. Quite a few people from the entire Lake Island had come to attend the wedding, gathering in small groups either discussing business or chatting and laughing. Lee Susu had felt her eyelid twitching since early morning. Although she had instructed the attendants not to let me in, she still kept a close watch on the entrance. The moment I stepped into the inner area, her gaze was fixed on me. Which young lady is that? She seems to have an exceptionally elegant aura. She's absolutely stunning, outshining even the bride today. I noticed everyone's eyes were on me, completely overlooking that she was supposed to be the star of the day. Lee Susu was fuming with rage as she stormed up to me. How did you get in here? I retorted sarcastically. Wasn't it you who invited me here? Lee Susu raised her voice, but I clearly told. Why are you afraid of me coming in? Do you think Lu Ji would call off the wedding just because I showed up? My words left her speechless, and her face turned pale. How could I possibly be afraid of you? I simply don't think you deserve to taint the purity of my wedding with brother Ji. Security, escort her out. Immediately, 2 security guards approached me and instantly recognized who I was. Since I had given them prior instructions, they didn't reveal my identity, but they had no intention of obeying Lee Susu's order to throw me out either. The very idea is ridiculous. Who would dare evict their own boss? Seeing the 2 men remain motionless, Lee Susu flew into a rage. What's wrong with you two? I order you to throw her out this instant, right now, immediately, or I'll have you packing your bags and out of here. Ms. Lee, I believe you're mistaken about one thing. We are staff of Hill Manor and don't take orders from you. Lee Susu's face flushed with alternating shades of crimson and pallor. Do you know the Lu Corporation? I'm going to be Mrs. Lu. How dare you disrespect me? I'll make sure you regret this. Ms. Lee, please don't disrupt the order, or we'll have the right to revoke the venue and blacklist the Lu Corporation, ending all future cooperation. Enough, making a scene in public like this. What kind of impression are you giving? The commotion was quite noticeable. Lu Ji saw Li Susu arguing with the estate security and immediately came over to intervene. Your humble origins are clearly holding you back. Your perspective is painfully narrow. From this day forward, every word and action of yours reflects on the Lu family. I expect you to adapt to high society quickly and avoid bringing shame upon us. Seeing Lu Ji was genuinely angry, Li Susua cautiously tugged at his sleeve. Brother Ji, I didn't mean to, it's these useless security guards who never listen. Lu Ji covered her mouth, his expression darkening. Watch your words and tread carefully. Rumor has it that the Pei family is the real power behind Hill Manor. Li Susu's face instantly turned deathly pale. That legendary Pei family, exactly, the Pei family, the foremost of China's elite aristocratic clans. Now you understand why I told you to watch your mouth. If we offend the Peis, our little Lu Corporation wouldn't stand a chance against them. I couldn't help but chuckle when I saw Lu Ji explaining the Pei family to Li Susu with such a serious expression. Lu Ji turned to look at me, and in the next moment, his eyes lit up with awe. Xingyue, you look absolutely stunning today. It wasn't until Li Susu cleared her throat that he snapped out of it. I'm getting married today, but the sad truth is, you're not the bride, yet in my heart, you'll always hold the most important place. You say it doesn't matter, but I know you love me too. Otherwise, with that temper of yours, you wouldn't have come today at all. I made a timeout gesture and gave a hollow laugh. If you insist on seeing it that way, there's nothing I can do, but I'm profoundly grateful I never became part of your Lu family. Just as I was about to turn and leave, two little ones came running over like bouncing balls, mumbling, Mommy, Big Treasure and Little Treasure are here. The brightest smile I'd had in days spread across my face as I crouched down and gathered both little dumplings into my arms, giving each a kiss on the forehead. My treasures, who brought you here? It's Grandma, the two little ones said in unison, and only then did I see my mom rushing over, completely out of breath. You two little rascals, slow down. I was just about to ask why the kid's dad hadn't come, then I heard Lu Ji ask, Auntie, is Xingyue really married? My mother probably found it exasperating too, but she'd watched Lu Ji grow up since he was little. He used to be such a promising young man, and she had high hopes for him as a future son-in-law, but somehow, he took a wrong turn somewhere along the way. After what happened 5 years ago, my mother naturally held a deep resentment towards Lu Ji because she felt so protective of me. Yeah, I'm married. My tone was detached, and I thought Lu Ji would have the self-awareness to leave on his own, but then he took a step closer, and right in front of my mother, his eyes welled up with tears. Mom. Auntie, please stop helping Xingyue deceive me. Even after 5 years apart, we still love each other deeply. I beg you to give us your blessing. My mother was stunned, her mind racing. Lu Ji, have you lost your mind? Today is your wedding day with that. Susu, why are you dragging my daughter into this? You may have no shame, but we still have our dignity. How dare you dream in broad daylight of making my daughter your mistress? Who dares to lay a finger on my wife? His tone was calm, yet carried an intimidating pressure that reached everyone present. The live chat suddenly went wild with comments. Holy crap, what's happening? This feels like a Big Shot's entrance. Didn't you notice? Lu Ji's male lead aura has vanished. How did the male lead's name change to Pei Sihan? Pei Sihan, my husband, approached with steady, deliberate steps. He pulled me into his embrace, one hand gently caressing my waist as he staked his claim. Who is he? Lu Ji's face turned pale as he jumped out and confronted me. The answer was so obvious, yet he still insisted on asking me again. I gave Pei Sihan's tie a gentle tug, and he let out a soft chuckle before willingly lowering his head. Gazing at those delicate lips so close to mine, I leaned in and kissed them. A blush crept across my cheeks. After catching my breath, I turned to Lu Ji and introduced my husband, Pei Sihan. Lu Ji's pupils constricted sharply, as if he had just heard something utterly unacceptable. No, Xingyue, did he force you into this? Smack. I'm the only one you've ever loved, right? From the very beginning. I swear I'll take you back from him. As he spoke, Lu Ji's eyes blazed with crimson hatred, sharp as a dagger piercing through Pei Sihan. Lu Ji, you're mistaken. Our fate was sealed 5 years ago. There's only one person in my eyes and heart now. Pei Sihan. I shifted slightly to shield him, hearing his low chuckle as he pulled me closer. I breathed a sigh of relief. The man behind me is fiercely jealous. If he starts overthinking, I'll be in for a long night. Lu Ji froze, then roared, I don't believe you. Prove it, Daddy. This man is scary. He looks like a child-eating monster, Debeo said, clinging to Pei Sihan's leg while peeking out from behind him. Brother, how many times do I have to tell you? Monsters aren't real. His behavior is exactly what Dr. Wang called a mental disorder. Xiaobao lifted his little head and pointed a finger right at Lu Ji's nose. Pei Sihan let out a mocking laugh. Is that even necessary? Debao and Xiaobao were the spitting image of Pei Sihan. Anyone with eyes could see we were a family of four. Seeing Lu Ji still fixated on me, Li Susu moved closer and wrapped her arms around his, her eyes welling up with tears. Brother Ji, she's already teamed up with that scoundrel to humiliate you. How can you let her keep trampling on your sincere feelings? Well, this is the first time someone's called me a scoundrel, Pei Sihan said with a wry smile. Perhaps I've been away from China for so long that no one remembers my name anymore. The crowd suddenly grew restless. Oh my god, he's Pei Sihan, the legendary iron-fisted leader of the Pei family. Smack. I once had the privilege of seeing Mr. Pei from afar, that commanding presence. It's unmistakably him. The sound was sharp and loud. That remarkably elegant Miss Shen is actually Mr. Pei's wife. They make such a perfect match. Lu Ji's face stiffened as he kept muttering, this can't be, it's impossible. Stumbling backward, he crashed into the 8-tier champagne tower behind him with a shattering clatter. Glasses toppled like dominoes, champagne splashed across the floor, and shards of glass went flying. Lu Ji was drenched from head to toe in alcohol, looking utterly disheveled. You disgrace, are you trying to ruin the Lu family? The Lu family was just handed over to you, and you've already caused this massive disaster. Get over here and apologize to President Pei this instant. Smack. Old Mr. Lu was absolutely furious with his son Lu Ji. In the brief moment he'd stepped away, the boy had managed to offend the mighty Pei family. Mr. Pei, my son has failed to recognize your eminence. A man of your stature has a magnanimous heart. Please, I beg you to let him off this once. The old man, who had carried himself with pride his entire life, now stood with a stooped back, humbly apologizing to Pei Sihan. Dad, don't beg him, he's nothing but a fraud. With all his might, Lu's father left a bruised purple handprint on Lu Ji's face. You worthless brat, kneel down, apologize to President Pei and Mrs. Pei. His father's attitude shattered any last shred of denial Lu Ji had clung to. His legs gave way, and he knelt before us, his eyes filled with humiliation, his face ashen. Mr. Pei, Mrs. Pei, I was blind to not recognize you. Please forgive my disrespect. Enough. Don't let me see you again. I said this calmly, then took Pei Sihan and our 2 children to leave. My original plan was to reveal my identity during the wedding ceremony and humiliate them by having the 2 expelled from Hill Manor. To my surprise, Pei Sihan returned ahead of schedule and showed up here, out of fear of the Pei family. Lu's father forced Lu Ji to kneel and apologize. My goal has essentially been achieved. Now, Lu Ji is nothing more than an insignificant clown in my eyes, and I can't be bothered to care about what becomes of him. Li Susu threw herself into Lu Ji's arms, her face full of heartache. Brother Ji, you still have me. I'll always be by your side. Just turn around, and I'll be right there behind you. The speakers on both sides of the venue, which had been playing piano music, suddenly emitted a crackling static noise. The next second, Li Susu's voice came through the speakers. Shen Xinyue, so what if she was born into a good family? She's still no match for me. I just shed a few tears, and Lu Ji believed me without question. She had no choice but to slink away and leave the country in disgrace. That idiot Lu Ji actually thinks I'm madly in love with him. If it weren't for his family's money and my goal of marrying into the Lu family, I couldn't be bothered putting on this act with him. Ha ha ha, this is too funny. He actually believes he was the one who killed my grandma. I had my eyes on him from the start and sent my grandma to stage the accident. Never thought I'd find such an easy target. Who else would I scam if not him? Lu Ji stood frozen as if struck by lightning, his fingers digging viciously into Li Susu's wrist until his nails pierced her flesh. Was all your tenderness and kindness just an act? You despicable woman, you've been deceiving and using me all for money. Li Susu wept pitifully, shaking her head repeatedly. It's not like that, Brother Ji. Shen Xinyue set this whole trap to frame me. Have you forgotten all our moments together over these 5 years? My love for you is real. Lu Ji refused to listen to her excuses any longer and roared. You're still laughing at me in your heart, aren't you? Thinking I'm a fool? You played me like a damn fiddle. If it weren't for your meddling and sowing discord, how could I have had that misunderstanding with Xinyue? If it weren't for you, Xinyue would never have left me. Lu Ji's grip was so tight it felt like he was about to crush Susu's hand. No matter how desperately she struggled, she couldn't break free. Provoked by the sheer malice in his eyes, she dropped all pretense and sneered, "That's right, you're a complete idiot. If it weren't for your privileged birth, do you really think I'd even look twice at you? I've been sweet-talking you for 5 years, even a dog would have been moved by now, yet here you are, stringing me along while still planning to marry Shinshiniue. Lu Ji, you make me sick, shut up, just shut your mouth." Lu Ji grabbed Li Susu by the throat, descending into madness. Li Susu was nearly suffocating, her long nails clawed desperately at Lu Ji as she struggled to break free, with all her strength. She delivered a fierce kick to his groin, ugh. Lu Ji, struck in his vulnerable spot, was in such excruciating pain that his veins bulged. He flung Li Susu into the pile of shattered glass from the collapsed champagne tower. The exposed skin on Li Susu's body was instantly cut by the glass, writhing in agony on the floor. The more she moved, the more wounds she inflicted upon herself. At my signal, security immediately stepped in to restrain the enraged Lu Ji. "Why stop them? It's quite entertaining watching dogs fight each other." Pacey Han squeezed my hand and whispered close to my ear. I felt somewhat helpless, having already guessed that he was behind exposing Li Susu's true nature. "This is where we got married, let's not ruin it." Pacey Han looked pleased, as if satisfied with my answer, but then remarked, "As long as it's not because you're still hung up on your ex." I chuckled, "Is he even worth your jealousy? I don't just set my sights on anyone. I knew my wife only has eyes for me." He lowered his head and captured my lips. My mom quickly covered the 2 children's eyes. "Oh dear, how embarrassing, sweethearts, don't look." Then the comments started popping up. I remember the original ending was, Shinshiniue forgave Lu Ji, and they stayed together until old age. Lu Ji was clearly the male lead. How did he get written off so abruptly? How does a scumbag like him deserve to be the male lead? The author probably revised the story. Pacey Han and the female lead are the perfect match. OMG, I can't get the sweet kiss between the lovebirds out of my head, grabbing my popcorn and waiting for the steamy scenes to come. LOL. Seconded +1, seconded +2. I was so mad I could only laugh. Seconded +10086. Bound and restrained. Lu Ji suddenly shuddered all over, as if he had seen something utterly unbelievable. His eyes were vacant, but then it seemed he had grasped some crucial piece of information, and a glimmer of light flashed in his gaze. "Ha ha ha, I'm the real male lead, I'm the one." Lu Ji threw his head back. With a loud laugh, a surge of strength welling up inside him, he broke free from the restraints and rushed toward Pacey Han and me. The bodyguards swarmed forward and intercepted Lu Ji. "Pacey Han, I am the true child of fortune, the master of this world, get out of my sight." Lu Ji, brimming with smug satisfaction, turned to me and declared, "Xingyue, come here, I'm willing to let this one transgression slide." It hit me then. Lu Ji could see the barrage comments too. "Leave it to me, Pei." Sihan's smile, which had been directed at me, vanished as he turned to Lu Ji, his gaze turning icy. The 2 men stood off against each other, and Lu Ji, like a frenzied beast, charged at Pacey Han first. Pacey Han's expression remained unchanged as he calmly raised his leg and kicked Lu Ji flying. Lu Ji struggled to his feet, only for Pacey Han to kick him down again. "Get up, get kicked." Lu Ji lay gasping on the ground like a dead dog, with Pacey Han's shoe planted firmly on his face. "I'm the only one fit to be Shinshinua's male lead." Pacey Han lifted his foot, wiped his hands with a tissue, and threw it onto Lu Ji's face. "It finally dawned on me, honey, you can see it too." "Shoo." Pacey Han flashed a mysterious smile and whispered in a voice only the 2 of us could hear, "They said they want to see some steamy scenes." I covered his mouth and shot him a warning look. "You're going to get it when we get home." But in the end, I never got to teach him a lesson. Instead, he pinned me down and had his way with me. The next day, I rubbed my sore back while eating the loving breakfast Pacey Han had personally made for me. He casually mentioned that after we left, Li Susu had mocked Lu Ji as a stray dog, which enraged him so much that he slashed her face with a piece of glass. In the end, the police took both of them away. The whole farce finally came to an end not long after. The Lu group was drowning in debt and on the verge of bankruptcy. In a fit of rage, Lu's father disowned his unfilial son, expelling Lu Ji from the family. Li Susu sued Lu Ji for intentional assault, while Lu Ji countersued Li Susu for fraud, landing both of them behind bars. I looked at Pacey Han with his arm around my waist, Dabao clinging to my left leg, and Xiaobao hugging my right leg. A loving husband, adorable children, and a warm home. This life is truly complete. Story 2. The campus belle didn't want to attend the same university as me, so my childhood friend tricked me into changing my first choice from Peking University to HKU by the time I discovered the truth, the application system had already closed. Furious, I confronted him, only to be met with a bitter smile. You two never got along, you know that better than anyone. Just come back to Beijing after graduation, I'll be waiting for you here. I was stunned and heartbroken. 15 years of love and my future meant nothing compared to her smile, so this time, I stopped fighting, packed my bags and headed south alone. What he didn't know was this: for years from now, or even longer, I won't be returning to Beijing. The moment I clearly heard Zhou Siyue's words, it felt like being drenched with a bucket of ice water, the chill piercing to the bone. No wonder Zhou Siyue had been avoiding eye contact all day. Pressed for answers, he admitted to deceiving me and came up with that ridiculous explanation, but by then, the college application system had just closed. There was no way to undo it. I still couldn't believe it and blurted out my accusation. Even if Jiang Meng didn't want to attend the same university, couldn't she just change her own application? If she wanted to stay in Beijing, there were dozens of universities to choose from. Why did she have to trick me into applying elsewhere? Zhou Siyue's expression froze for a moment before he instinctively reached out to pat my head in consolation. For the first time, I turned my head away in rejection. He withdrew his hand awkwardly and added with some discomfort, "Ningxu, stop this." The whole class knows Jiang Meng's childhood dream was Peking University. She'd never give that up. Why insist on Peking University when you're clearly picking a fight with her? People really do laugh when they're speechless. Is Peking University not my dream too? I retorted in confusion. I earned my admission score fair and square through blood, sweat, and tears. Why shouldn't I be allowed to apply to Peking University? Does Peking University belong to her family, or is the university only accepting one freshman this year? If she's so capable, let her make Peking University admit only her and reject all other applicants. Zhou Siyue frowned, his expression growing increasingly unpleasant. "Ningxu, stop being so argumentative all the time." They meant well. Peking University's campus is so small, I was worried you'd get upset running into each other constantly. That's why I came up with this win-win solution. Besides, she applied to PKU first. You've been deliberating for days, which shows it's not like PKU was your only option. But Jiang Meng's situation is different. She only applied to this one school with no backup plan. You wouldn't actually prevent her from going to college, would you? I was shaking with rage, my voice trembling. I submitted late because I was carefully considering other options. What kind of bullshit reason is that? Who in their right mind would turn down Peking University? And you, Zhou Siyue, last night you tricked me into changing to HKU together, then went back to PKU yourself. Think this is funny, don't you? Zhou Siyue's brow furrowed deeper, yet his gaze deliberately avoided mine. I really didn't mean to deceive you. Weren't you watching me make the changes together last night? But somehow my parents found out today. They absolutely refused to let me leave Beijing, and forcibly changed everything back. His voice trailed off at this point, swallowing the unfinished sentence, deliberately not informing me about reverting the application choice. The air hung heavy with silence for a long while. Zhou Siyue let out a long sigh and continued with earnest persuasion. "Ningxu, Jiang Meng's grades can't compare to yours. Without those art specialty bonus points, she'd never have made it into Peking University. Can't you just give in to her for once?" I looked up at him in disbelief. Give in to her, that phrase again too. The past 2 years, ever since Jiang Meng came into the picture, she disrupted the unspoken understanding and routines between Zhou Siyue and me. The phrase I heard most from Zhou Siyue was, "Just humor her. Jiang Meng just transferred to our humanities class and doesn't have many friends yet. Cut her some slack. Jiang Meng's scared to walk home alone after night class. It's just a small detour to drop her off. Can't you be a little considerate?" Jiang Meng didn't understand this major problem in class. Is it really worth getting mad over letting her borrow your seat for one evening study session? I don't get it. Jiang Meng clearly has plenty of friends. Even when I just walk down the hallway, her little clique gives me warning glares. Jiang Meng's family even had a chauffeur to drive her to and from school every day. She never needed to walk. My relationship with Jiang Meng's deskmate was terrible. During evening study sessions, she'd often take my seat to ask Zhou Siyue questions, leaving me with nowhere to sit. I'd end up awkwardly squeezing in with my best friend at her tiny desk, but whenever I brought this up, Zhou Siyue would just dismiss it as me being petty. His tone shifted from casual to serious, until it finally carried unmistakable resentment toward me. "Ningxu, I don't belong to you alone. don't be so possessive. Over time, I started questioning whether I was just being overly sensitive and petty. Zhou Siyue was just helping classmates out of kindness as the class monitor, but now, even my dream university has to be given up to her for some absurd reason. How ridiculous! Don't my efforts and aspirations deserve any respect? Utterly disappointed, I didn't even glance at Zhou Siyue, nor did I want to exchange another word with him. Turned and walked out of the school. Tears kept streaming down my face the whole way. After knowing Zhou Siyue for 15 years, I never imagined he'd lie to me for someone else, especially about something as crucial as my future. My phone suddenly rang. My bestie Ming Yan bombarded me with question marks. Why is your Zhou Siyue going public with the campus bell? My heart skipped a beat before I could process it. Then she sent me a screenshot of Jiang Meng's WeChat Moments post. It was posted 15 minutes ago, right after the college application system closed. The dream school I've loved since age 10. Someone moved mountains to make it happen with me. Blush alongside her selfie. The post included 2 screenshots of college application forms. Even with one blurred, I instantly recognized Zhou Siyue's from the listed majors. This vague, seemingly official relationship announcement was flooded with happy 99 wishes. Even Zhou Siyue had liked it, so that's how it is. I've always been the odd one out. My heart ached uncontrollably again. Last night's memories flooded my mind. Zhou Siyue suddenly reached out, begging me to secretly change universities with him in another city. He said he wanted to rebel for once and go as far away as possible, tired of being constantly controlled under his parents' watch. I was really torn about it and had to grit my teeth to turn him down several times. Peking University has always been my dream school. Besides, given my family's special circumstances, staying local would take the most pressure off them, so I never even considered studying out of town. But last night, Zhou Siyue seemed dead set. He wouldn't let go of my hand until I agreed. I couldn't resist his intense gaze and persistent pleas. In the end, I caved like a spineless fool for Zhou Siyue, the name scribbled on every page of my teenage diary, the one I've secretly adored for so long. Just hearing his name makes my heart skip a beat every single time. The thought of being apart for 4 years breaks my heart, especially that night of his 18th birthday. It was the first time he got tipsy under the moonlight on the lawn. He clung to me, refusing to go home, insisting I stay with him to watch the stars. Amidst our playful tussle, he claimed my first kiss with irresistible determination. Those whispered vows of passion still echo in my ears, as vivid as yesterday. Ningxu, let's stay together forever, okay? We'll attend college together, work together, marry each other, and never part for a lifetime. My heart nearly burst with joy back then, foolishly believing my secret crush had finally come true, counting down the days till college, dreaming of being openly together. Looking back, I was just a delusional clown all along. For such an absurd reason, I became the one who was gently let go. He asked me to step aside. Not just Peking University, not just Beijing, him included. I might as well surrender everything to her. 5. Before I knew it, we'd arrived at the KTV entrance. Mom was selling skewers at a street stall nearby. I quickly wiped away my tears and spent a long time composing myself around the corner. Only when I was sure no one could tell I'd been crying did I walk over to her. Mom's face lit up for a second when she saw me, then immediately started scolding. Sweetheart, didn't I tell you to rest at home after submitting your college applications? Why are you here helping again? I can manage just fine by myself. Don't you worry about it. I just smiled, put on an apron, washed my hands, and got straight to work. It's okay, Mom, I've been resting for days after the exams. Before school starts. My words suddenly trailed off there. My chest felt heavy as if weighed down by a boulder, fingers unconsciously tightening around the dishcloth. I didn't know how to broach the subject of changing my college application choices with her, all because of my lovesick brain. I'm blindly heading off to college so far away. For the next 4 years, I won't be able to help her with the street stall or take care of grandma, not to mention tuition and living costs. There are more than double what they are inland. Even with partial scholarships, it won't be enough. The more I think about it, the more it terrifies me. 5 years ago, when Dad's business went bankrupt, he swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills and left us forever. Mom, who had lived comfortably at home for years, pulled herself together and started this little barbecue stall. Working day and night, she managed to put me through middle school and high school, while also supporting my wheelchair-bound grandmother. Mom's once jet black hair now shows streaks of silver, yet I was so immature. My mind was in turmoil, the regret cutting deeper. Why did I ever fall for Zhou Siyue's temptation in that moment of weakness? I'm such a fool. Dazed, my phone suddenly buzzed a few times. A WeChat message from Zhou Siyue popped up, Still mad? Don't forget about tonight's gathering. Shall we have a proper talk after this? I dismissed the notification without replying, perhaps unsatisfied with the silence. The WeChat alerts kept chiming incessantly. I mechanically skewered the meat, unwilling to engage. Seeing this, Mom smiled and coaxed me. Is IU asking you out? Then you'd better hurry along. They say Peking University's coursework is intense. Make the most of summer break before term starts, if you're short on cash. I'll wire you some. You got into Peking University. At least I've done right by your late father now. You have no idea how envious the whole neighborhood is of your mom now. I've finally made it. Haha, really made your mother proud. Beaming with joy, Mom reached for her phone. I quickly wiped my hands and stopped her. Just then, the phone began to ring. Before I could decline the call, Mom answered with a smile and pressed the phone to my ear. Zhou Siyue's mellow voice immediately came through the line. 6, still sulking, you little grudge holder, not even replying to my texts now, seriously giving me the silent treatment. When I remained silent, he sighed and continued, all right, princess, I admit I didn't handle this properly, but you've got to give me a chance to make it right, and don't tell me you forgot Jiang Chuan's confessing to his crush tonight at his birthday, and you promised to be part of the hype squad. I cut him off coldly. I have other plans, so I won't be going. In our past Cold Wars, whenever Zhou Siyue made the first move to reconcile, I'd quickly meet him halfway, but this time, I clearly had no intention of taking his olive branch. Zhou Siyue was getting irritated too. Ningshu, you're being unreasonable now. No matter how upset we are, we already promised to come. We can't just ruin everyone's mood. If you're still upset, Jiang Meng will be here tonight anyway. I'll bring her along and we'll both apologize to you in person. Alright. About changing your college preferences, he kept rambling on, but I couldn't take it anymore. Hung up immediately, blocked the number. Peace at last. Thankfully Mom was too busy to notice my conversation with Zhou Siyue, or she'd have grilled me for ages. I muted my phone and kept my head down skewering kebabs. Sometimes the kindest thing is not to stir the pot. Beer and barbecue joints always do roaring business on sweltering summer nights. I was running around all night without a moment to spare, let alone time for idle thoughts. Before I knew it, dawn was breaking. The fresh charcoal must have gotten damp. It simply wouldn't catch fire. I fussed over it till I was at my wit's end, blowing and fanning to no avail. As I knelt fiddling with the stubborn coals, a woman's startled voice suddenly rang out nearby. Ningshu. 7. The sweltering heat of a Beijing summer night still lingered unbearably. The air hung thick with humidity. Hearing this, I raised my sweat-drenched face from the charcoal fire through the swirling kitchen smoke. Jiang Meng's startled face instantly caught my eye. Beside her stood Zhou Siyue, his brow deeply furrowed. The other friends stood further away, eyeing our direction curiously, mostly Zhou's childhood buddies, plus a few of Zhang's close girlfriends. The group was dressed to the nines, looking like they'd just stepped out of a karaoke bar. Ningshu, it really is you. I told Ayue it looked like you, but he refused to come over. I heard your mom was running a skewer stand, but never thought we'd bump into you here. Jiang Meng seemed delighted. After exchanging pleasantries, she turned and loudly called the others over. Zhou Siyue stood frozen in place, shooting me an icy glare as he said, so, Ningshu, you'd rather ignore my texts, block my calls, and grill skewers for pennies outside this KTV than step inside to show me some basic respect. I kept silent, fanning the flames with my head still lowered. The group of guys and girls had already approached, their unabashed chatter clearly audible. Is that Ningshu? Who's Ningshu? That girl who's always tailing Zhou Siyue like a shadow. Oh, the meaningful discussion was abruptly interrupted by Jiang Meng's sudden suggestion. 8. Hey, aren't you guys hungry? How about we grab some late-night snacks here? Let's support Ningshu's family stall. They're going through tough times, and this could help fund her college education. The place seems busy enough. The food probably isn't bad. Jiang Meng's makeup was flawless, and her strapless mini dress that evening accentuated a youthful sensuality with a hint of maturity. Her expensive eyeshadow sparkled as she spoke, making her look especially charming and adorable, a stark contrast to my disheveled appearance, covered in soot, grease-stained hands, and grime everywhere. A stark and cruel contrast. At 18, lives diverge in wildly different directions. This truth I've long known, but here and now, standing before the person I've loved for so long, I still felt an awkward urge to flee. I turned back to my tasks, trying to avoid those complicated, scrutinizing gazes. Yet Mom came forward warmly. Xiaoshu, are these all your classmates? Is IU here too? Come sit down. Kids, order whatever you'd like. It's my treat tonight. With that, Mom quickly cleared 2 tables, gave them a thorough wipe down, and started pushing them together. Seeing this, Zhou Siyue immediately stepped in to help her move the tables. Murmurs of conversation rippled through the crowd just then. Ugh, eating here, this place is downright filthy, ew, everything's so greasy, God knows what kind of slob from the urban village sat on this stool last, just thinking about it makes me wanna puke. Xiaoming, look at this meat, could it be zombie meat? Is this even fit for human consumption? I never eat at street stalls anyway. Mom's hand froze mid-wipe on the stool. Zhou Siyue's expression darkened as he turned to admonish them. That's enough, Aunt Shen maintains impeccable hygiene and is an excellent cook. The gossiping group fell silent, their complaints dying on their lips. I've been seething with anger for a while now. I rushed over and stopped Mom from continuing her chores. Then I turned to Jiang Meng and her group, saying, our family has always run an honest business serving ordinary folks. We can't compare with your nouveau riche households. Would the noble ladies and gentlemen kindly step aside? We wouldn't want any grease stains on your fine clothes. Jiang Meng immediately protested with hurt in her voice. No, Ningxu, I genuinely wanted to help you and support your family business. My friends might be blunt, but they meant no harm. Zhou Siyue's expression grew increasingly darker. Ningxu, they didn't mean it that way. You're reading too much into their sarcastic tone. Don't take it personally. Our families rarely let us eat street food. We're just used to upscale restaurants. That's all. I had nothing more to say to him, just pointed at the road. To hurry them along, we working folks need to make a living. If you're not buying, please don't block our stall. Mom fell silent too, standing there awkwardly rooted to the spot. Zhou Siyue stared at me for a moment before turning away in silent anger. The others followed suit, some pinching their noses in disgust as they left. Jiang Meng lingered at the back of the crowd, took 2 steps, then doubled back to stand before me, said to me with feigned gratitude, Ningxu, by all accounts I should thank you for stepping aside. It's made my college life perfect. HKU is quite good too. IU and I actually put a lot of thought into choosing it for you. Honestly, if you hadn't been so hostile toward me every time we met, I wouldn't have needed IU to do me this favor. I never expected her to bring up the volunteer work so abruptly, and immediately turned to look at Mom. Mom's face turned deathly pale in an instant. 9. Jiang Meng quickly walked away after speaking, as if just realizing she'd said something wrong. Mom nearly lost her balance. I quickly steadied Mom as tears welled up in my eyes. In a panic, I blurted out through sobs, Mom, I'm so sorry. I somehow changed my first choice to HKU. I can't go to Peking University now. I was too scared to tell you. Maybe I should repeat senior year and try for Peking University again next year. I promise I'll give it my all. Mom seemed genuinely startled. She stood dazed for a long moment before finally collecting herself, forcing a smile. Oh, it's nothing. The way she said it just gave me quite a scare. I thought you'd made a mistake with your application. HKU is a great school too, sweetheart. Don't cry. Mom's unexpected reaction only made my tears flow harder. Flustered, she wiped my tears and kept comforting me. You changed it for IU's sake, didn't you? It's okay, really. Not getting into Beijing isn't the end of the world. Stop crying now or I'll get upset. Mom kept comforting me while hurriedly packing up the stall. She said we'd check the schools and majors I applied for again when we got home. I nodded through my tears and quietly followed her back home. It was already 1 a.m. by the time we got home, yet there stood a familiar tall figure outside the apartment entrance at this hour. Zhou Siyue was actually here. Mom gave me a meaningful look, then wordlessly went upstairs, leaving the space to Zhou Siyue and me. I didn't want to speak to Zhou Siyue anymore and tried to brush past him to go upstairs. As I passed by, he suddenly pulled me into his arms before I could react. 10. The moment I realized what happened, I started struggling, but our strength difference was too great. I stood no chance against Zhou Siyue. Finally losing his temper, he pinned me against the wall. His iron grip left me no room to struggle. A pleasant buzz of alcohol instantly spread through my body. I glared up at him in silent defiance. Then I noticed Zhou Siyue was gazing at me intently too. He softened his stance and explained, still holding a grudge, Alright, I apologize. This whole thing is my fault. After my parents changed my college preference back to Peking University, they immediately reset the password. I never got the chance to sync it with yours again. Even now, he still believes he was justified in making me yield Peking University for Jiang Meng's sake. I couldn't help asking him, then why didn't you tell me to change mine back too? Is Jiang Meng really that important to you, worth throwing away my future just to please her? Zhou Siyue took a deep breath, his patience wearing thin again. Why do you always have it out for Jiang Meng? No wonder she wants nothing to do with you at university. Every time you see her, you turn into a damn porcupine looking for a fight." Even at the brink of utter disappointment, the heartache still stung like countless needle pricks, a relentless throbbing pain. The motion sensor hallway light had long gone out, leaving only moonlight filtering through the entryway glass to illuminate Zhou Siyue's face. Those sharp, well-defined features I'd memorized over countless glances now made him seem like a complete stranger. We stood in tense silence, neither speaking a word. After what felt like an eternity, Zhou Siyue seemed to relent, adopting a placating tone as he spoke. "All right, I surrender, but what's done is done. Let's not make a scene, okay? Be good, consider this my debt to you. Go ahead and study in Hong Kong first, for years will fly by before you know it. After graduation, whether you pursue further studies or work, just come straight back to Beijing. I'll help look after Aunt Shin here too, I promise. Even if I can't accompany you to HKU, I'll still support you if you ever struggle with tuition." Zhou Siyue kept rambling on to himself when I remained silent. He finally couldn't help but chuckle under his breath, pressing his face close to my ear. He spoke again in a husky voice. "I know what you're worried about. I promise, no relationships in college. I'll wait 4 years for you." 11. The word struck me like lightning, instantly jolting my foggy mind awake. So that's how it is. Zhou Siyue knew everything, those carefully guarded feelings of mine, those unspoken yet longed for futures. He knew exactly what that drunken kiss meant, yet he still chose to disregard my feelings, taking for granted that I'd keep loving him unconditionally. I stared into Zhou Siyue's eyes in disbelief. As I stood there dazed and unresponsive, he pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. I snapped back to reality and shoved him away with all my strength. The corridor lights flickered back on. Caught off guard by my violent reaction, Zhou Siyue staggered back with visible embarrassment. "Ning Xiaoshu, why did you push me? You're throwing a tantrum about not going to Hong Kong because you're worried I'll be with someone else, aren't you? Feeling better now?" I retorted coldly. "Who asked you to wait? Be with whoever you want." Zhou Siyue let out a sigh. "You've always been stubborn since childhood. What's the harm in admitting you like me? I won't laugh at you. There's no need to feel embarrassed." I cut him off decisively. "Enough, Zhou Siyue. Let me make this clear. I don't like you, and you shouldn't wait for me. From now on, we're done. I'll never forgive someone who toyed with my future." I brushed past him and headed straight for the stairs to go home. I ignored the sudden grimace on Zhou Siyue's face. Zhou Siyue froze for 2 seconds before storming up the stairs after me. "Ningxu, don't be so harsh with your words. Who's messing with your future? Wasn't I supposed to switch to HKU with you? But when my family objected and forced the change, what could I do? Besides, HKU is a great school with plenty of exchange opportunities. I went through all this with you last night. I was being serious. How exactly is your future compromised? You're acting like I forced you into some community college." "Really?" Zhou Siyue kept trailing behind me, yammering nonstop. His agitation grew with every word until he finally grabbed my wrist to stop me from going further. "Besides, knowing your family's financial struggles, I voluntarily promised to cover your tuition and living expenses for all 4 years. How could you possibly interpret this dream opportunity everyone covets as me deliberately sabotaging you?" I whirled around in shock, wrenching my hand free with force. "Well, thank you so much for your thorough consideration. But from now on, my affairs are none of your business." With that, I hurried upstairs. The person behind me didn't follow. Only a single phrase dripping with utter disappointment remained. "Ningxu, I've swallowed my pride to apologize and confess my feelings to you, yet you show no mercy. Must you keep this fight going? Fine, just don't come crying with regrets later." 12. I didn't respond. Zhou Siyue didn't pursue me either. Turning instead to stride briskly downstairs, the sound faded into the empty hallway. Zhou Siyue had his pride too. This was as far as he'd go with sweet talk, his absolute limit, yet none of that could undo the harm done to me. I've long made up my mind never to forgive him, nor will I accept his so-called kindness. I'd rather repeat a school year than beg from him. I never want to see that contemptuous look from Jiang Meng and her friends again. Tonight, when I got home, Mom was still waiting up for me, and surprisingly, Grandma hadn't gone to bed either. They were sitting quietly in the living room, the atmosphere feeling a bit off. Seeing me return, Mom immediately brightened up and came over, while Grandma wheeled her chair closer. "Xiaoshu, you're back. Mom just checked. The program you applied for at HKU is excellent, with plenty of scholarship opportunities. Just go enjoy your studies without worries. Don't stress about living expenses either. I promise we've got you covered. Our stall's been doing really well lately." Grandma took my hand and said, kindly with warm eyes. My health has improved a lot, so don't you worry about home. Focusing on your education is what really matters now. I was overwhelmed with guilt. My moment of impulse would cost my entire family dearly. Grandma, Mom, I've decided not to go this year. I want to retake the exams and try for Peking University next year. I stammered out my thoughts, only to see Grandma and Mom's faces instantly darken. Mom gave me a smack on the back. What nonsense are you spouting? How could you even think of not attending such a prestigious university? Your Ning ancestors would rise from their graves to curse me if we let this opportunity slip. Why should a child worry about grown-up matters? Leave those concerns to us adults. Mom kept nagging with that familiar mix of frustration and disappointment, while Grandma chimed in agreement. My heart ached so badly that I couldn't hold back tears anymore. So I rushed straight to my room and slammed the door shut. I took out my phone and completely wiped Zhou Siyue and Jiang Meng's contact information from it. Buried under the covers, I cried my heart out. Everyone must eventually pay for their mistakes. I can't burden the whole family. Undergraduate studies in Hong Kong are too expensive, even with partial scholarships. The high cost of living would be hard to manage given my current relationship with Zhou Siyue. There's no way I could accept his help. I brought up the idea again during breakfast the next morning. Mom slammed her chopsticks down angrily. Grandma also stopped me with a grave expression. I didn't want to argue with them anymore. My mind was made up. As long as I refused to go to Hong Kong, nobody can drag me there. I silently put down my chopsticks and walked out the door. 13. I wandered aimlessly through the streets for hours. I did a lot of thinking and research. I even looked into retake policies and potential schools. It was nearly dusk when I finally got home. To my surprise, there was another unexpected visitor at the door. Zhou Siyue's mother, Auntie Qin Xian. She was accompanied by an assistant in formal attire. Mom was about to pack up for her street stall when she unexpectedly ran into Aunt Qin. They were college classmates and best friends back then, even bought their marital homes in the same gated community. That's how Zhou Siyue and I grew up together since childhood. But after Dad went bankrupt and we moved out of the neighborhood, they lost touch over the years. Aunt Qin stepped inside, gave the room a quick once-over, and got straight to the point after sitting down. Xinyu, it's been ages. Everyone's been so busy these days, but you're looking well. Little Shu's such a good kid too, acing all her exams. Heard she got into HKU. Let me cut to the chase. I'm here to help out. University life in Hong Kong's expensive. There's 100K in this card for Shu's expenses. As she spoke, her assistant handed her a card. Mom and I exchanged bewildered glances, completely clueless about what was happening. Noticing our confusion, Auntie Qin chuckled and explained. Oh, it's just my son Zhou Siyue. The moment he woke up today, he asked me and his dad for money, said he needed $1 million upfront to sponsor Ning Xushang's university studies in Hong Kong. My mind went blank with a deafening roar. Overwhelmed with embarrassment, I felt my face flush crimson. Mother's face turned deathly pale in an instant. Aunt Qin's lips curled into a smile, but her eyes remained icy as she added, frankly speaking, our Zhou family can certainly spare $1 million, but no one's money grows on trees. Sponsoring an outsider's expensive college education out of the blue, nobody's that much of a fool. Consider this 100,000 yuan as repayment for Ning Shu's father's past kindness to our family. For anything beyond that, you'll have to figure it out yourselves. That boy Zhou Siyue is too soft-hearted. He's been locking himself in his room all day without eating, sulking just to help Ning Shu. Mom abruptly stood up and cut her off. Qin Xian, take this card back with you. We'll handle Ning Shu's matters ourselves. No need to trouble you further. I've got business to attend to. You should leave now. Mom shoved the bank card back into Aunt Qin Xian's hands and opened the door to usher her out. Aunt Qin Xian didn't take offense. Instead, she rose gracefully with a smile. Xinyu, you're still as stubborn as ever. I told you remarrying would give you an easier life, but you insisted on humiliating yourself with that pathetic street stall. Now you're sacrificing your child's future for some imaginary pride. Is this really necessary? Mom clenched her fists in anger and asked her to leave again. Aunt Qin Xian said nothing more, simply smiling as she walked out. She paused at the doorway and gave me a meaningful look. Xiao Shu, I meant well. If you don't want to accept it, that's fine, but do try to talk some sense into Siyue when you can. Tell him not to keep clashing with his father over you. Trembling with anger, I countered in a low voice, Auntie, I've never asked Zhou Siyue for money. I don't know why he did that. It has nothing to do with me. Aunt Qin looked surprised and asked with confusion, oh, you're quite an interesting girl. knowing your family situation, yet you convinced our CUA to apply to universities in Hong Kong together. Fortunately, someone told me he'd foolishly changed his application to follow your lead, his father, and I corrected it immediately. Otherwise it could have ruined his future. Our CUA has always been naive. Even after your family fell on hard times and moved away, he kept treating you like childhood friends. We adults never interfered, but, at this point, she patted my shoulder and said with grave sincerity, but his future partner mustn't be just anyone. Not every family is worthy of that match. A person's greatest virtue is self-awareness. Don't you agree, Xiao Shu? A tidal wave of anger and humiliation crashed over me. I clenched my jaw so hard it ached, barely keeping my composure, unable to contain herself any longer. Mom raised her hand to slap her, but her tall assistant swiftly intervened and blocked the blow. Aunt Chin-Chin's face twisted into a mocking sneer. Xinyu, you're acting like such a shrew now. Control your daughter properly and face reality. Know your place and abandon those delusions of grandeur. Mom yanked me inside and slammed the door shut with a bang. 13. Mom, I stood sobbing behind the door, my guilt growing heavier. I never imagined things would turn out this way. Dragging Mom into this humiliation, Mom let out a deep sigh, hugged me tightly and comforted me for a while. It's okay, I know you'd never do such things, and we won't take a single penny from their family. Let's talk later. I need to set up the stall first. Wiping my tears, I nodded and started getting ready to help her with the street stall. Back in my room, I found a handwritten note from Grandma on the desk. Dear Xiao Shu, I've been feeling much better lately and want to spend some time back in the countryside. Promise me you won't repeat the school year. You must go to university. My heart skipped a beat as I immediately showed the note to Mom. Mom was about to leave when she read it, then frantically called Grandma in a panic. The phone just kept ringing until it went to voicemail. I was completely panicked and at a loss. Your grandma really went and tricked me into thinking she was watching the dancers downstairs. How could she possibly make the trip back to the countryside alone with her bad legs? She kept saying she was a burden to us, always going on about moving back to the old house in the village. Who'd have thought she'd actually do it? As if we'd ever be so hard up that we'd need her meager pension money. Mom didn't even bother going out, turning back to the bedroom to quickly pack a couple of clothes before heading to Grandma's place in our hometown. I quickly followed right behind her. With a sigh, Mom wordlessly took my hand and we headed to the high-speed rail station together. Thankfully we made it onto the last train back home. On the high-speed train, Mom closed her eyes wearily without saying a word. I silently wept while staring into the pitch-black night outside the window, my heart heavy with sorrow. If only I hadn't changed my plans back then, Grandma wouldn't have felt like a burden and left alone. My phone suddenly buzzed several times. A strange number sent several messages. Ningxu, I never thought you'd be this kind of person. It's fine if you're mad at me, but how could your mother hit mine when she was just kindly delivering your tuition money? Don't you think that's going too far? She's crying her heart out right now. Come to my place immediately and apologize to her in person. Then we'll consider this matter closed. If you keep ignoring me and refuse to apologize, don't blame me for what happens next. I recognized Zhou Siyue at first glance, but I was just too exhausted to even argue. Without hesitation, I blocked this number too, putting all thoughts of him behind me. 14. The last bus had already left when we got off the bullet train, so we hitched a ride with an unlicensed cab. After 2 bumpy hours, we finally reached Grandma's house in the dead of night. Under the dim glow of the courtyard light, Grandma sat alone in the main room, lost in thought. She jumped when she saw us, wiped her tears, then immediately started scolding us. Mom and I burst into tears too. That night, the three of us held each other and wept for what felt like hours. I stubbornly refused to study in Hong Kong, while Grandma and Mom kept pleading with me desperately. Finally, Grandma laid down the ultimatum: if I didn't go, she wouldn't return to Beijing to live with Mom. I had to nod along to placate her for the moment. The next day, Mom returned to Beijing first while Grandma stubbornly refused to leave, wanting to stay in the countryside for a while. Mom had no choice but to leave me behind to look after Grandma. A nice break for me too. After all, Beijing had its fair share of people and situations that weighed on my mind. Life in the countryside was peaceful, and my mood improved considerably. A week later, I suddenly received a WeChat message from Meng Yan. The message told me to give up completely. After reading it, leaving no room for any illusions, she sent me a video of Jiang Meng's birthday celebration in the opulent villa ballroom. Jiang Meng, dressed like a princess in her finest attire, swayed gracefully in Zhou Siyue's arms as they danced. His formal wear complementing her elegance. The romantic waltz melody swirled around them, drawing murmurs of admiration from onlookers enchanted by the perfect pairing. The camera captured it all, their gazes locked, as if the world beyond each other had dissolved into the background. The final notes faded, and the dance concluded. Jiang Mei rose on tiptoe and boldly pressed her lips against Zhou Siyue's. The crowd's teasing cheers nearly raised the roof. Zhou Siyue merely froze for a second, not angry at all, even cracking a smile. I turned off the video, unable to watch any longer. Even though I disliked Jiang Mei, I can't help but admit they make a perfect match. They truly belong to the same world. Even after deciding to let Zhou Siyue go, my heart still aches, digging my nails into my palm. Maybe physical pain could numb the heartache. Pretending not to care, I cleaned every corner of the house to exhaust myself. Working late into the night, hunger struck, so I fished out a baked sweet potato. Grandma had tucked in the wood stove for me. Sitting alone on the threshold of the main hall, I cradled the sweet potato as I ate. Somehow, bite after bite, the sweet potato began tasting strangely salty. It tastes awful. I hadn't stayed long in the countryside before Grandma urged me to return to Beijing, wanting to work for my tuition. I hastily brought Grandma back to the capital with me. 15. The days that followed passed like clockwork, routine yet fleeting. Between part-time jobs, college acceptance letters, and helping Mom with her stall, I was swamped every day with no time for anything else. I even skipped the school's honor ceremony for students admitted to top universities. I muted the class group chat too. I forced myself not to dwell on unpleasant people or memories. I occasionally get bizarre text messages, but I just delete them without a second glance. On the day the acceptance letter arrived, Grandma and Mom cried for hours again. I didn't dare bring up dropping out of school ever again, because during that trip back home, Grandma secretly sold the old house. It wasn't much money, but they gave me every penny for college. Yet I still worried about them being alone in Beijing. Mom noticed and made a bold decision. We terminated the low-rent housing here and moved the whole family to Shenzhen. Having them closer means we can reunite during holidays. With all worries behind me, I happily prepared for school registration and the move. The day we finally got everything settled and moved our whole family to Shenzhen, right before boarding, I unexpectedly received a call from an unknown number. The moment he spoke, I recognized Zhou Siyue's voice. Ningxu, after all this time to cool off, you must have figured things out by now. You skipped the graduation banquet, missed every class reunion, I'd even traveled abroad and back, and you're still holding a grudge. After over a month of silence, I never expected him to reach out. I was too stunned to hang up. The person across from me sighed helplessly before continuing resignedly. Fine. The homeroom teacher said you've confirmed your enrollment at HKU. That puts my mind at ease. I know you refused my mom's money last time, but don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Living expenses there are high. I prepared 500,000 for you. The card's in your mailbox. Pin's your birthday. I know you don't want to see me, so remember to pick it up yourself. We'll be starting school soon too. I'll visit you in Hong Kong during National Day. For years will fly by. Don't worry, I'll keep my promise. I didn't respond to him. I never told him we'd moved, that address was no longer valid. Toss the old SIM card and pop in a new one. Won't be needing the old one anymore. Maybe youth is just like this one-way ticket. From now on, I don't plan on returning to Beijing ever again. 16. After settling my grandmother and mother in, I could finally report to HKU with peace of mind. Though the climate here in Guangdong is a bit hot, the mild winters actually suit Grandma better. Mom restarted her street stall here. With the city's vibrant nightlife, business is far better than back in Beijing. My university life is gradually falling into place. At first I could barely understand anything, but gradually I started picking up some Cantonese phrases. The coursework here is incredibly demanding. It took me ages to adjust to this pace. Outside class, all my free time goes to part-time jobs to earn money. Except when visiting my grandma and mom in Shenzhen. I'm constantly running around like crazy, no bandwidth for anything else. By the time I recovered my composure, National Day was just around the corner. Suddenly remembering that airport phone call when leaving Beijing, I turned around and saw Zhou Siyue right at the school gate. He remained that refreshingly youthful boy, just with a touch more maturity. Though we hadn't been apart for long, it felt like lifetimes had passed. It suddenly hit me that I hadn't thought about him in ages. I stood frozen as Zhou Siyue closed the distance between us in quick strides. Ningxu, uncontainable delight sparkled in his eyes, his lips curling into an irrepressible smile. I've waited so long to finally meet you. After you changed your number, I couldn't find you anywhere. Had to ask around through friends just to track you down. I nodded and responded indifferently. What do you want? Seeing my response, Zhou Siyue let out a relieved sigh and cautiously probed, I promised to visit you during National Day, remember, seems you're doing well here, guess I made the right choice, what do you say, honor me with a meal together. I shook my head, got classes, can't make it. Zhou Siyue looked disappointed, hey, you're not still mad, are you? I've apologized and made up for it financially, yet you're still holding a grudge. I'm at my wit's end, what will it take for you to forgive me? Oh, by the way, Jiang Meng asked me to bring you this gift as her peace offering. I stared at the Hermes scarf. He offered but didn't take it. I didn't call him out on his lie. That girl in sunglasses and a straw hat standing behind the tree near where he just appeared, if I'm not mistaken, that was Jiang Meng herself. We came to Hong Kong for vacation together. So why bother lying about coming to see me? After rejecting him, I turned to leave immediately. Zhou Siyue stepped forward and grabbed me. Ningxu, don't push your luck just because we grew up together. Even the deepest bond can be ruined by your antics. Don't come crying to me when that day comes. I nodded in agreement. Fine, have it your way. Zhou Siyue snapped. Great, be my guest. If you've got the guts, never set foot in Beijing again, and never come looking for me. I nodded and walked away without a second thought. Let him do whatever he wants. But in this age of big data, there's no easy way to hide 17 for several days in a row. Jiang Meng's Zaya Hongshu posts kept popping up in my feed beneath the fireworks at Disney Castle, on the cable cars of Ocean Park, at concerts in the Hong Kong Coliseum, and through the floor-to-ceiling windows of five-star hotels overlooking Victoria Harbour's glittering lights. Every spot bore witness to Zhou Siyue and Jiang Meng's couple photos. Even with Zhou Siyue's face pixelated with cartoon stickers, I recognized him instantly. I couldn't resist scrolling through Jiang Meng's little red book. Jiang Meng cultivates an online persona as Peking University's quintessential intellectual beauty. So her comment sections overflow with praises for this perfect, white, rich, and beautiful girl and her equally privileged male counterparts. She and Zhou Siyue were indeed the campus celebrities among Peking University's freshmen. Even classmates I barely knew would occasionally slide into my DMs fishing for information about Zhou Siyue. Seeing those youthful photos Jiang Meng posted of her and Zhou Siyue by Weiming Lake left me with a bittersweet ache. This was supposed to be the college life I'd dreamed of for so long, but seeing those lush broadleaf trees outside our lecture hall, I realized things weren't so bad after all. Guess we all have that nosy streak. I uninstalled Zaya Hongshu altogether to stop stumbling upon her profile. Stop wasting your time on them. I've regained my peace of mind. During winter break, I celebrated Lunar New Year in Shenzhen for the first time with my grandma and mom. Wherever they are, that's home. Though the rental was small, we were perfectly happy there. On New Year's Eve, I received a call from Zhou Siyue. I don't know who he asked or how many times he tried, but he always managed to get my contact information. Ningxu, didn't you return to Beijing for the holidays? I went to your place, but all the lights were off. Did you go back to your hometown? I answered absent-mindedly, feeling little emotion upon hearing his voice again. Oh, so are you coming back to Beijing before school starts? Zhou Siyue probed cautiously. Probably not. About that 500,000, I checked and saw you haven't touched it. How are you covering tuition then? If there's nothing else, I need to go celebrate New Year's with Grandma. I avoided answering his question. There was a hint of disappointment on the other end. Oh, okay, I'll come visit you in Hong Kong after next semester starts then. After a brief silence, I decided to be upfront. Actually, that won't be necessary. We're just classmates, no need for visits. Zhou Siyue immediately denied. Ningxu, are you still upset? After all these years of friendship, are you really giving up on me? I denied. The moment you chose to lie for someone else, you stopped being my friend. From now on, don't come looking for me or contact me anymore. This is really disrupting my life. Zhou Siyue panicked. Wait, Ningxu, you've got this all wrong. You're just going away for college, not settling down there permanently. You promised you'd come back after graduation. Remember, I promised to wait for you in Beijing too, so don't you dare change your mind and stand me up. My head was throbbing, but I still tried to patiently lay everything out clearly. First, I never agreed to anything about you waiting for me or not. Second, whether I return to Beijing after graduation or go elsewhere is none of your business. I've truly lost patience for your games. Don't contact me again. Zhou Siyue refused to give up, stubbornly insisting, that's impossible. Your home is right here. I don't believe you'll never come back. No matter what you think, I'll keep waiting here for you. I won't be with anyone else. When you return, we'll get married. 18. I didn't want to argue anymore, So I hung up immediately and decided to cut the call the moment I heard his voice. Next time he can think whatever he wants. If it weren't for some classmates visiting me in Hong Kong casually mentioning Zhou Siyue and Jiang Meng's situation, I'd have believed his version of events. His so-called waiting for me in Beijing didn't stop him from getting cozy with Jiang Meng. This more than friends, less than lovers game hits different, way more intoxicating than those bland, saccharine romances. A three-way relationship is too crowded. I refused to be counterweights in his balancing act. Watching him play the impartial mediator like some self-righteous referee, life drifted on uneventfully. I thought ignoring Zhou Siyue would make him forget me gradually, but to my surprise, he never gave up. The first year passed, I secured a better scholarship and earned enough from part-time jobs to cover my living expenses. When Zhou Siyue visited me in Hong Kong during summer break, he was both happy and a little wistful to see I was doing well. By the second year, Mom had made good money in Shenzhen and, with my encouragement, found love again. Zhou Siyue tried to visit me during winter break, even tracking down my grandmother's hometown, only to discover our ancestral home had been sold in my third year. I was fortunate to secure an exchange program in France, which opened my eyes to a broader world. Rumor has it Zhou Siyue searched for me in Hong Kong and even flew to France, but we kept missing each other. By the fourth year, I graduated smoothly and landed a decent-paying job in Shenzhen without pursuing further studies, and then he came up with that ridiculous explanation. Yang Sua actually teared up on the spot when he saw me standing with a more impressive guy holding an even bigger bouquet of roses. Then he realized I'd not only secured a job in Shenzhen, but my entire family had relocated there, making any return to Beijing impossible. That's when he finally gave up all hope. Rumor has it that shortly after returning to Beijing, he hastily decided to pursue further studies abroad. No matter how hard his mother tried to persuade him, he refused to come back to China for career development. His mother even called my mom, asking me to convince him to return since the family business needed him to take over. My mom obviously ignored her, gave her a piece of her mind, and then blocked her number. As for Jiang Meng, she got into Peking University through art program admissions, but her grades were so poor with too many failed courses that she only received a certificate of incomplete studies upon graduation. She ended up following Zhou Siyue abroad in disgrace. Zhou Siyue's family then started looking down on Jiang Meng for not earning a proper degree, forbidding their relationship. I never bothered to find out how that whole mess eventually turned out. Life's too long for anyone to claim they'll never make mistakes. The regrets of my youth ultimately became the fuel for my perseverance. Even if you've chosen the wrong path in life, there's always a chance for redemption. Never say die.